Good afternoon, everyone. So nice to have you here today. My name is Anna Siefken, and you are joining us for the 5th day of CMU Energy Week 2021. We're so excited to have you here and to have this unique opportunity today with one of our good partners at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. So this today is our American-made Solar Prize Round 4 Set Pitch Showcase. So let's get started. First, I just want to say a hearty welcome to you for wherever you are in the world watching this today. We have a large audience. We're really excited to have you all here. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the Scott Institute, and then also we're going to talk about the prize. So as I mentioned, I'm Anna Siefken. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'm Anna J. Siefken in most places, so please do link in with me. We also want to hear from you about today. So we're on Twitter and LinkedIn, Facebook as well. And that last link that you see there, the Scott Institute, is where you can find information about our newsletter, which comes out about once a month. That's how many of you found out about today's event. We also have a pretty robust website, and I'll talk about that as well. So I want to thank our sponsors for Energy Week, and you'll notice this says 2020. We were planning a very robust in-person 2020, and these amazing sponsors have supported us through the year, even though that event did not happen. I also want to make a special thanks today for our entire advisory panel. This is an amazing group of people who have come from across the country to provide feedback in the moment for these important teams who are already in the competition. A special thanks also to the team that I work with day in and day out. They've done an incredible job this week in pulling things together. Aswarya Raja, who you'll hear more from, Daniela Grieman, who is running things today, and Reed McManigal, who helps us throughout the year with all of our work with startups. This is our entire team. So we are a lean team, but we are very excited for the work that we do in innovation. So what is the Scott Institute? For those of you who do not know us, we are the Energy Institute within Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And we focus on building a sustainable low carbon energy future. And we do that through partnerships, through research, through innovation, through education, and through policy. So we see ourselves as a center point for a pretty important ecosystem that has venture capital and investment and innovation. So to learn more about the Scott Institute and our interest in technology, efficiency, and computation, you can go to our website at cmu.edu/energy, and you'll find our annual report. It is a very dense document that has a lot of information about the kind of work that our faculty do. So we also, as I mentioned, we support faculty, we work with industry and policy in the public policy sector, we form partnerships, we do a lot of work with entrepreneurship, and we host initiatives and programming much like Energy Week. So I want to focus on that fourth aspect here. So we are what's called a power connector with the American-made prizes. So we focus primarily on the solar prize, but we also have been providing additional support to things like the geothermal prize and a recent prize called eRobot. We're also a strategic channel partner with IN2. And even though we're not an accelerator or an incubator, our companies since 2012 have raised about $218 million in follow-on funding. So these are some of the Carnegie Mellon related startups. So if you want to partner with us, there's a lot of ways to do that. You can support our research, you can hire our amazing students, you can volunteer to support programming like our advisors are doing today, and sign up for that newsletter. You can find out about opportunities throughout the year. We have other programming coming up, including in 2 weeks. On April 7th, Olympus Energy's COO, a CMU alum, Michael Wall, is speaking. We're doing an event on Earth Day around SDG 7, which is affordable and clean energy, and doing some other webinars on decarbonization and batteries through the rest of the semester. So Energy Week, as I mentioned, we're on the 5th day. It's been a busy week. We had between 500 and 600 people registered for our events this week. So thank you to all of you that are here. So today we are on that last day, day 5, the pitch showcase. There's a networking session this evening. It's from 4 until 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you've registered for that, you should have received a link, and we want to make sure that you have that. And later today, during the course of the day, we can show you the direct link in the case you have not registered. So with that, I'm going to pass over to my colleague, Sarah Gomash, who works at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and she is the Solar Prize Program Manager. So Sarah.
Great, thank you so much, Anna, and thank you, Carnegie Mellon University team. I am so excited to be here today with our Solar Prize teams. I think you can go to the next slide, Anna. The Solar Prize is a U.S. Department of Energy funded program. It was developed to really help energize American ingenuity and empower innovators to create groundbreaking solutions to advance the solar industry. With this prize structure, innovators are really turning ideas into reality in just a matter of months instead of years. Next slide. The Solar Prize itself is a $3 million competition designed to inspire and reward entrepreneurs to bring their ideas to market. At each phase of the competition, participants progressively win larger prizes for making progress on their technology. Since December, these semi-finalist teams that you'll hear from today have been competing in the Solar Prize Round 4. Each of these teams received a $50,000 cash prize for their solutions to some of the toughest problems in the industry. Over the past 4 months, these teams have continued to develop their technologies, and in the coming weeks, these teams will learn which 10 of them will win $100,000 and move on to the final stage of the competition. So you're tuning in at a very exciting time where we get to see the work that these teams did and see who's going to move on to the final stage. The next slide, please, Anna. So as I mentioned, we've done this is the 4th round of the competition. Over time, we've been able to support about 80 startups through this program. They've earned about $10 million in cash prizes and over $1.8 million in technical assistance vouchers to work with national labs. We're really excited for this program to choose these innovators from a growing pool of innovative ideas, and you are definitely in for a treat today. You'll be hearing pitches from these really impressive teams. You'll get the opportunity to talk with them at the networking session to see the progress that they've made. Before we dive in, I just have a few quick acknowledgements. First, to the Solar Prize teams that are here with us today. For everything you've accomplished over the past several months. This is a time where business as usual just doesn't exist, and you've persevered and really found truly innovative solutions to keep working, and the progress that you've made is tremendous. Second, I would like to thank the connectors in the American Made Network, a handful who are here today. These connectors support the work of these teams, and this prize really couldn't happen without your support. So thank you for working with these teams and supporting the program. And finally, a big thank you to our power connectors, the University of Arizona Center for Innovation and the Wilton E. Scott Institute at Carnegie Mellon University, who happens to be our gracious host for today. These power connectors have worked with these teams on everything from pitch prep to customer discovery to connecting with the right people. And I'm really appreciative for the work that these power connectors do, and especially for all the work from the CMU team today to host this great event. So with that, I'm personally really excited to hear the pitches from these teams today, and I will turn it over to Aswaria at the Wilton E. Scott Institute to tell us how the day is going to run. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome. I'm Aiswarya Raja with the CMU Scott Institute team, and I will walk us through the details and format for today's presentations. So today we will be watching live presentations by 17 round 4 set Solar Prize teams. As a power connector, we've had the opportunity to work very closely with several of these teams, and we are so thrilled to say the very least for today's presentations. So for today's agenda, we are currently in the welcome and introduction portion. Immediately, we will then move into session 1 of the live pitch presentations, during which teams 1 through 9 will present. That is until 2:30 today. And after that, we will transition into session 2, live pitch presentations, during which teams 10 through 17 will be presenting. And finally, we will then have some closing remarks and announcements before we all drop off and move to Remo for our virtual networking session. This is the order of presentations for session one. I request all session one presenters to take a few seconds to click a picture of this slide so that you are also aware of the order of presentations for today. I'll leave the slide up for a few seconds. And this is the order of presentations for session two. Advisors also feel free to take a picture as you will be providing feedback for teams. All right, so regarding pitch presentations today, each presenter will have exactly 5 minutes for their pitch presentation, followed by 3 minutes for Q&A from our advisory panel. At the end of 5 minutes, we will provide an audio signal to cue presenters to wrap up their presentation, and presenter mics will automatically be muted. The sound that you will hear is this. So that is your cue to wrap up your presentation. We recommend presenters to also run a timer on their end as we are unable to provide in-between time checks. For our advisors participating today, for each presentation, you have 3 minutes to ask questions and provide feedback to teams. Just like team presentations, I will sound my timer at the end of 3 minutes to wrap up Q&A. We also request you to record your feedback in the Startup Pitch Showcase feedback form, as your feedback is immensely valuable to our teams in preparing for similar opportunities in the future. That being said, we fully acknowledge that 3 minutes is not a lot of time. So if you're having any challenges juggling both, we encourage you to focus on asking questions during the time today, and feel free to send us your detailed feedback later as well. As we mentioned before, we encourage you to start dropping your questions in the chat feature directly to me, and that will help me moderate questions for today. I will be able to call on advisors, and when I do so, please feel free to unmute your mic and directly ask your question to the teams. We recommend that you begin dropping questions during the course of presentations so that we're immediately able to get into the Q&A portion right after each team completes their presentation. This is a snapshot of the feedback form. Advisors, if you do not have this feedback form, please email Daniela Grieman. Her email address is dgrieman@andrew.cmu.edu. We'll be able to get that form over to you immediately. If you have any questions, advisors and presenters, please drop them in the Q&A and we will try to get to them right away. All right. With that, let's get into session one. I'm very excited to introduce our first presenter for today. It's Team Nanospray, and we have today with us Ed Sarter. So Ed, whenever you're ready, feel free to share your screen and turn on your video. And when you're ready, I will cue you in.
Thank you, Aishwarya, and everyone at the Scott Institute for making this possible. I'm going to share my screen now. So are you seeing a presentation now? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay.
Whenever you're ready, I'll give you a 3-second countdown and we will get started, okay?
All right, we're good to go.
All right. 3, 2, 1, ready.
Despite inventing the photovoltaic solar cell and leading the world in solar R&D for decades, the US has fallen behind in the global solar panel manufacturing race. However, the US still has an ace in the hole. US-made cadmium telluride solar panels cost less per unit power than silicon panels and capture about 5% of the global market. We just need to give them a small boost to accelerate their growth. Our young company recognizes the power of innovation to bring solar manufacturing and business back to American soil. Hello, I'm Ed Sarter, CEO and co-founder of Nanospray. Our company lowers the cost to manufacture PV in the US. We aim to replace slow and expensive fabrication steps with fast and low-cost processing from inexpensive materials dissolved in cheap solvents. Think nail polish or white paint. Specifically, our company has developed a game-changing back contact that can be sprayed or printed as the last step to fabricate cadmium telluride solar panels. This will simultaneously lower production costs and improve device efficiencies. Using funds won in the first round of the American-made Solar Prize competition, we have developed proof-of-concept devices using the nanospray contact. As you'll see, even our first solar cells have comparable efficiencies to those made using standard industrial contacts, and they get better every week as we test new ones. In a market largely dominated by foreign-produced silicon panels, US manufacturing has an edge in its mature thin-film CAD/TEL industry, with Ohio companies such as First Solar and Toledo Solar leading world production. To increase the competitiveness of CAD/TEL PV, manufacturing costs will need to be lowered and panel efficiencies increased. We've identified one important way to help. The back contact of a CAD/TEL panel must provide better collection of solar-generated electricity at reduced cost. To revamp the back contact, we have developed proprietary inks based on Maxines, an emerging material with amazing properties that include high conductivity and tunable electronics. These materials can be easily coated from inks onto a panel to make a back contact, lowering production costs and improving panel efficiency. Nanospray's technology can be easily integrated into existing production lines. By removing the sputtering step typically used to make back contacts, our technology will lead to a reduction in equipment, capital, and maintenance costs, which will be passed on as a reduced consumer panel price. Labor costs can also be reduced by increasing factory panel throughput. The physical properties of our contact also mean that manufacturers can get away with using less solar absorber per panel, lowering the cost of materials. Our back contact also offers a path to improved panel efficiencies. Quantum mechanics suggests that the electronic properties of our Maxine materials will allow them to make better contact to the CAD/TEL solar cell, increasing the power generated from each panel. We compared our nanospray contacts to the gold standard in cadmium telluride contacts, gold, which is often used as a high efficiency control. Our contacts barely lost out to gold, but just by a hair, yielding an efficiency of 17.4%. This means that the nanospray contact would perform at least as well as the industry workhorses, sensitive mixtures like copper zinc telluride. A silver metal is just what nanospray needs to get a foothold, and we're on the cusp of success. You probably won't see the name nanospray on a solar module anytime soon, but we'll be in the background, helping to lower the costs of clean renewable electricity. Despite setbacks and lab closures from the COVID-19 pandemic, we found ways to push forward to advance our ideas. Overall, our proof of concept devices have matched and exceeded our ambitious goals for the set phase of the American-made solar competition. We will soon build upon our success by scaling up to module and panel prototypes in the go phase. Our growing company, founded by 3 NYU researchers and advised by a strong industrial and scientific advisory board, has unique expertise in photovoltaics and emerging materials that prepare our agile company to address such complicated challenges. Our partnership and close collaboration with Toledo Solar gives our company unique insight into the challenges and requirements for production processing. All of our CAD/TEL solar cells were developed on samples taken directly from their pilot line. Our proprietary Maxine-based composites position us to supply CAD/TEL PV manufacturers with reliable and high-quality inks to make back contacts for their solar cells. In essence, our company will be selling both the printer and the inks to make back contacts. In 2019, more than 6 gigawatts of CAD/TEL panels were produced. Projected cost savings from our nanospray contacts will yield upwards of $400 million in annual value to the CAD/TEL industry. Eventually, we'll be adapting our solutions to solve difficult contacting problems faced by other kinds of solar cells and thin film electronic devices, expanding our addressable market of solar cell manufacturers. For the next phase of the competition, we aim to work with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory and Toledo Solar to scale up our process, optimize the performance of back contact, and test durability to IEC standards. We're looking forward to all the challenges of growing our tiny company into a supplier of advanced contacting materials for American-made solar cells. We believe that the nanospray contact will
Ed,
soon...
thank you. We're at the end of time. Thank you, Ed.
Great.
Appreciate it. It was a fantastic presentation. And advisors, do we have any questions? I see that Dawn Morrison from Blue Tree Allied Angels has a question. Dawn, feel free to unmute your mic and ask your question.
Good job, Ed. In your poster slide, I saw some data on there. Can you put it in terms of the cost versus the efficiency or efficacy of your technology? For example, it's 10% cheaper and 50% more energy production. Is there a way to quantify it that way, because I think that would help your value proposition or convey your value proposition. Have you quantified it in those kind of terms?
We're certainly working on that. We're mostly working with dollars per watt for the panel. However, some of these values also can be factored into reduced costs across the balance of systems, which is a little bit harder for us to gauge. So we're during the next phase, we're hoping to bring on some expertise that can help us answer those questions about how efficiency increases balance of costs, like the installation and everything else that's besides manufacturing the panel. But these cost savings, we assume 3 cents per watt, including those efficiency gains.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, at the expense of being the dream crusher, it's usually never about the technology, it's about the business. And so think about it in terms of the value proposition. Yes, the technology works, but is there a compelling value proposition here? Good job, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate the question.
Wonderful. I think next we have a question from Jason. Jason, feel free to unmute your mic.
Sure. Yeah, my question was the same on the cents per watt peak, but it's a 3 cent reduction, which is 10% reduction. And it looks like you have that broken down, both material and efficiency gain. So you would compare that to the gold standard in the efficiency. Is your efficiency gain here compared to gold or compared to what they currently have? And then is your material cost reduction versus gold or what they currently have?
So a lot of our material reduction costs will actually be coming from the thinning of the CAD/TEL absorber layer. Because our contact actually lets you get away with using a thinner layer, which doesn't have kind of losses at the back contact. So that's one way that we're gonna lower material costs.
And are you working with First Solar on this?
We're working with Toledo Solar. We're using some samples that they've sent us. And we also have an academic partner for the next phase with Matt Reese, who's going to be giving us some next generation or helping to supply us with some high efficiency CAD/TEL panels.
Right, advisors, thank you very much for your questions. Ed, thank you so much for an excellent presentation and for being here with us today. Next up, we have David Pham for solar panel waste recycling. David, whenever you're ready, feel free to share your screen and turn your camera on. Hi, David, it's good to see you.
How are you guys?
We're doing great. Are you able to share your screen?
Okay, to share my screen. Let me see how I'm going to do that. How do I share my screen?
Do you see the share screen option at the bottom of your toolbar?
Oh, okay, yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we're able to see your screen. So as soon as you're ready with slideshow, I will give you a 3-second countdown and we'll get started.
Okay. Okay, I am good.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you very much. Our company, Ecological Estate, and the University of Texas have partnered together to came up with a process to recycle used solar panels. So let's look at
David, we're unable to hear your audio.
Do you have a problem hearing my audio?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, so that's just the video to show you that there's a need for recycled solar panel. The industry data show that by 2030, they're going to be starting a glut of used solar panel entering the market. And by 2050, tremendous amount. So the solar industry to get in place a plan for to satisfy these projected waste. And the amount of profit can be made for recycling solar panel, according to the industry, is 455 million by 2030 and 15 billion by 2050. But we think our process, we can make a lot more money than that. Our team is from our company, Ecological Estate, with me, the leader, and with Dr. Yekin Urim at the University of Texas as the leader for the team there. Okay, so I'm just for you all that are not in the solar industry. These are the component of a solar panel that we can recycle. Okay, so the aluminum frame, mostly we concentrate on, I mean, the aluminum frame is very easy to recycle, just the mechanical to take them off. But the most important thing for profit is the silicon solar cell itself. That is where most of the money can be made. Okay, so with our process, how much solar component of the solar panel can we recycle? So yeah, so pretty much we can recycle pretty much 100% of pretty much everything, except for the solar cell. The solar cell is the key to making profits. I will go into that. Okay. So our process called SPWR is solar panel waste recycling. Our process is more eco-friendly process-wise, and with very little go to landfill. We have no evaporation of toxic metal because we use low temperature process below 200 degrees compared to the other recycling process, which is all the way up to 500 degrees. And we can, our recycling cost is approximately around $10, but we can definitely reduce that. So we can, we think that we can make from $12 to $18 worth of metal to pay for recycling costs and make the profits for the company. Okay, so the key to profit is the silicon, just like I said before. With our process, we can get 99% ultra pure silicon is the key to profitability, which we can sell around $14 per kilogram at this time. So from the September to now, we have optimized our silicon, ultra pure silicon recycling process, and then we will wait for the set voucher to validation of how pure our silicon is. We will always, we can always improve and optimize our process. Okay, so yeah, so the key to the profitability again is the silicon dust that result from recycling of the solar cell of the solar panels. Okay. So the profit pulse of the solar panel from the silicon can be $2, and that's highest greater than $10 based on the
Thank you, David. We're unfortunately at the end of time. Thank you for your presentation. Looks like we have a few questions. Hi, Ben.
Sure.
Would you like to ask your question?
Sure. Thank you very much, Aiswardi. Really cool to hear what you're working on, and I think it's admirable. The circular economy is super important these days, so thank you for being a part of that. I did want to ask you about how the panels will get to you, and if you have a center where you're going to be doing this, or you are doing this recycling. Just wondering if that could add to some complexity in terms of getting panels to you for recycling. And then I also wondered, on the other end of it, who's going to be taking on the silicon dust, and do you have a whole supply chain set up for that?
Yeah, well, my last two slides was going to go into that. So yeah, Actually, we have partnered with Sandia National Lab. Sandia say they can supply us with the used solar panel for our testing. And also we have contacted many solar panel maker and also EV EV battery maker, because EV battery maker needs pure silicon to make the batteries. So those are our customer. And then the solar, right now, there's not much solar panel waste in the market at this time. So we partner with Sandia National Lab to provide us the used solar panels.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I think we have a question from Jason.
Sure. So what's your, Jason Blumberg from Energy Foundry, good pitch, thanks. What is your unique technology that you have for separating the panels?
Well, you know, the most of the like the frame and everything is all mechanical. The key is the metal in the silicon cell, the solar cell itself, and what we call reverse electroplating. You know, just electroplating in reverse. And all of our process is under 200 degrees, so we were able to get and recycle them, including the silver, the copper, the tin, you know, and then the pure silicon itself. You know, we were able to separate the boron and the phosphorus doping out of the silicon to make it more pure from our what we call reverse electroplating process.
And what is that process besides heating it? How do you separate all those materials? Is that your unique value proposition?
Yeah, that's a proprietary. Yeah, we so this process is with our legal counsel right now for patenting. That's the reason why I don't have any detailed process inside the presentation. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, just think of electroplating, but in the reverse of that. You know, instead of plating on, we're taking plating out of it.
Thanks.
Thank you, advisors, and thank you, David, for a great pitch presentation. Next up, we have Urban Energy, and to present, we have today with us Russell Wilcox.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Russell. Thank you for joining us. Whenever you're ready, you may share your screen and I will cue you in.
All right. How does that look?
Right.
Good?
3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Russell Wilcox, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Urban Energy, where we are making solar viable for urban multifamily buildings with the solar canopy. I'm a mechanical and electrical engineer with experience deploying solar projects at scale, the large commercial and residential installer. In my last role, experience designing custom urban canopy projects with a small provider in New York City. In that role, I was frustrated by the slow deployment of solar on buildings in our market. I discovered that despite aggressive New York City solar goals, less than 1% of all multifamily buildings had gone solar. I founded Urban Energy in direct response to this challenge, to make solar viable for New York City's multifamily buildings. The problem is that multifamily buildings, which make up the majority of buildings in dense urban areas, do not have the right solar solutions available to them. Building owners do not have the cash for solar projects, so they need outside financing. However, with all the obstructions on multifamily roofs, roof level systems are too small to be attractive for investors, and the solar canopies available that can make them larger are too expensive to be financeable, not to mention simply too heavy for these roofs. Urban Energy's solar canopy is the first scalable, financeable solar canopy designed specifically for multifamily buildings. At its face, the concept is simple. We make urban systems at least 60% larger by bypassing roof obstructions that a roof level system would have to avoid. Unlike other canopy products on the market, the Urban Energy solar canopy avoids roof penetrations altogether by attaching to the exterior walls of the building. These structural straps avoid roof load while accommodating for up to 60-foot spans and allowing the system to meet ASCE wind load standards for even the most exposed areas. I said the urban energy solar canopy is scalable and financeable. So what makes a solar canopy scalable? We've designed our components to be modular, which reduces material and installation costs and allows for 80% of the parts on any single solar canopy installation to be standardized regardless of the building's unique characteristics. What makes a solar canopy financeable? Aside from the larger system sizes that are more attractive investments than smaller roof level systems, the urban energy solar canopy is acceptable for solar financing with racking costs of under $1 per watt, compared to the $3 to $5 per watt canopies available on the market. While more expensive than a roof level system, the solar canopy generates electricity on much more efficiently with a 10% lower levelized cost per kilowatt hour. Our solar canopy also provides huge production advantages, as proven through our proprietary modeling methodology plus standard PV-SYS modeling. The solar canopy doubles production compared to a roof level system. The solar canopy energy production and financeability claims are key to our success. We have mitigated potential failures in these areas by validating our methodology with an impartial engineering group and securing a pipeline of projects financed by third parties demonstrating acceptability of these claims, as well as a market hungry for this innovation. With our in-house development and installation efforts, we are already poised to capture the $5 billion New York City multifamily market, and then expand into the $350 billion national multifamily market opportunity. We plan to drive this expansion by selling the solar canopy racking products and services to developers and installers in other urban areas around the country. Using our New York City solar installation business as a launchpad, we have talked to over 1,000 building owners and dozens of financiers. Through these efforts, we have secured 53 contracts for the solar canopy in New York City across 4 different ownership groups and 3 different project financing partners. These pilots for the first version of the canopy are nearing completion and are already informing our commercialization efforts. Our executive team and advisors consist of subject area experts with experience scaling energy ventures. We are supported by our innovative in-house engineering and installation team, our structural engineering partner, and several incubators and programs. In the words of one of our early clients, a financier and building owner, urban energy's solar canopy technology will crack open the enormous untapped urban multifamily market, both in New York City and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell, with time to spare. Fantastic. Very well done. I believe we have a few questions. So I think the first question is from Cameron. Cameron, would you like to ask your question?
Hi, Russell. Cameron Peterkin from BCI Technology Investments. Great presentation. I was just curious to hear if there's been any testing regarding wind-based risks for your solution, and if it's compatible with both fixed tilt and tracking technologies.
Sure. Yeah, and I've talked with BCI before, some of your other colleagues. So yeah, I appreciate the question. You know, that's why we're in the American Made Solar Prize, is to have some grant money to do some wind tunnel testing. That's definitely in the top 3 priority lists. You know, we have some clamping and sort of attachment mechanisms of the different components within the structure that we're doing some friction and sort of torque measurements on, but then wind tunnel testing once we have kind of our next iteration of design is the plan. As you can see, it does have a single axis tracker sort of design. And so it's retrofittable to trackers, but our current design is just fixed. We are looking at potentially on a maybe version 8 or so, putting a single axis tracker.
Thank you, Cameron. Any other questions from advisors?
I have a question. This is Don. Good presentation. How is the energy distributed in a multi-family building? Does it go to the general bill first, or is there some kind of allocation system?
Yeah, it always depends on the market, but New York City uses the VETR program, which I don't know if you're familiar, but it's basically a value stack of energy based on any export to the grid. Most of our buildings also have maybe 30 to 100 multifamily units, and they're all generally direct metered. Sometimes you'll get a master meters solution, but it makes it very complicated. It makes it a very small load on the house meter, which would be the main place where you'd want to tie the system into. So what we do is we do a front of the meter installation, we 100% export it, and then we use the city's community solar program, which also gives us some sort of additional incentives for the cost of electricity in the city being very high. So market to market, it'll vary, but either way works.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Don. Looks like we have time for one more question.
Yeah, I have a question. And you mentioned, I think you mentioned that your system is cheaper than conventional way of construction. Can you explain further why it is so? Seems that you're in fact building more structure.
Yeah, so it's not cheaper per se, it's more expensive, but it has a lower levelized cost of electricity. So if you think about a normal PV system, say it's a 50 kilowatt system that's roof level, we can fit 75 to 100 kilowatts in our system. And so it's already generating that much more electricity. Obviously, that doesn't matter unless if our system generates more electricity. So we use bifacial modules. We have a single axis tracker type fixed mount design that gives as much kind of open air and kind of light from the backside of the panel. And we're using all reflective new roofs on all of our systems as well. And then you don't have any shading from any of the obstructions on the roof because it's raised above the obstruction. So it's about 30% more electricity and about 50% more systems. So that the cost of installing it is lower when you're installing more systems with some of the fixed costs coming down. So it's about 10% lower all and per kilowatt hour.
So when your neighbor builds the same thing, it will provide some additional shading though.
When they build the same thing? What do you mean?
Well, your neighbor.
Thank you, advisors. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're at the end of time. Apologies. We have to keep moving forward. Russell,
Thanks, guys.
great presentation. Thank you so much for being here today. Next up, we have Aeroshield Materials. And to present, we have Aaron Bridges. Hi, Aaron.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you and see your screen as well. When you're ready, I will give you a cue and you may begin.
Go.
Ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
So hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Basterfield Bridges. It's my pleasure to introduce Aeroshield Materials, where our breakthrough in material science is enabling the world's most efficient solar thermal energy. So when you think of renewable energy, you naturally think about electricity, and I think that's been a lot of the conversation here today. But huge strides have been made to make US electricity generation nearly 20% renewables and growing every year. Separately, equally as large is the US demand for industrial process heat. So that's the heat to pasteurize milk, run furnaces, process foods. And it's been stagnant at about 10% renewables for over a decade. You know, how you can think of this is a boiler system, and the market is dominated by natural gas. And even the renewables in this space come from the combustion of either biomass or biogas. So to produce renewable industrial process heat at something like 250 degrees Fahrenheit, you could use photovoltaics and an electric boiler. And the top of the line PV panels will allow you to do this at about 20 to 25% efficiency. Aeroshield's super insulating transparent silica aerogels enabled the direct conversion of sunlight into heat at up to 60% efficiency. And as an added bonus, thermal storage to support the system can be 90% cheaper than battery storage. So what does this look like in practice? You know, this is flat plate receivers do exist. This is a thing that exists already on the market. This is a solar thermal system. They look a lot like a PV panel installed on like a rooftop or a small scale distributed system. But instead of having a wire carrying electricity, you have pipes carrying steam or hot water. So the working principle of solar thermal is quite simple. You know, an object left in the sun will get hot. But as that object heats up, you get thermal losses that hurt your efficiency. So at the collector surface, you need a material that allows light to pass, but no thermal energy to escape. What you need is transparent insulation. So Aeroshield manufactures the world's most transparent silica aerogel, which is transparent insulation. Now, if you've ever heard of aerogels before, they are some of the most insulating materials ever created. They're super light, they're fire resistant, stable at high temperatures, but they've always been blue. For the first time ever, Aeroshield is making aerogels that are transparent, and this has created a step change in performance for solar thermal. If anyone's interested in the science, I'm happy to talk about it, but Aeroshield's breakthrough is based on our founder, Elise Strobach's PhD work done at MIT to really change the optical properties, and the patent is related to the nanostructure that enables this. Foundational work showing that transparent aerogels can improve solar thermal efficiency was done and published in ACS Nano. And Aeroshield's founder is one of the inventors of the material and co-authors on this paper. So if you look at this picture, what you see on the left is a small scale prototype, and that's just a copper plate painted black and insulated by an aerogel. And on the right is the temperature curve. So this was done in Boston, 32 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And in 30 minutes, it reached 350 Fahrenheit. And in an hour, it reached almost 450 Fahrenheit. So what you can imagine is harvesting energy, whether that's steam or hot water, from one of these plates. So what does this look like in terms of economics? You know, our bill of materials and modeling indicate that even a first generation receiver will allow for an LCOE of around 7 cents per kilowatt hour thermal for a distributed rooftop system, which outperforms rooftop PV with the additional benefits, as I mentioned, that storage is far more economical and you don't need to do an electric boiler retrofit at a facility. But I think most importantly is that the aerogel is just a fraction of the total system cost. So solar thermal just has not seen widespread adoption because of low efficiencies. And the efficiencies of scale and standardization that PV have seen that have really driven down costs in the past have not been realized in solar thermal. So we think that scale could provide a real cost, a path to cost competitiveness with fossil fuels for our solution. Thanks to the American Made Network, we were able to fast track our market discovery and better understand markets potential, and we had a lot of warm introductions to end users. When we think about beachhead markets, we received a lot of support from manufacturers involved in solar power, but also flat plate collectors. Really identified that places that use fuel oil or diesel are immediate targets. We would
Thank you, Adam. We are unfortunately at the end of time.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you for a great presentation. Advice, do we have any questions?
If no one's going to ask one, I've asked a lot, but I'm happy to. So you are heating up to 300 to 400 C. The usual cost issue is around the conversion from heat then to power. And so what's your conversion technology that you're using, and how much, what percentage of the total system cost is that?
Yeah, so I think our first application is actually not to do CSP. It's actually just to do industrial process heat. So if you think of applications that require heat, that's like a brewery, a dairy, anything that operates in the 80 to 120 Celsius range, we could be your low pressure steam line, or at the very least a preheat to your boiler system with renewable energy. So instead of doing conversion into electricity, we're actually targeting applications where you just need thermal energy.
So how does that, you showed 7 to 8 cents in your example, that would be an electric comparison. How does that compare to natural gas on an MMBTU cost perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, if you convert natural gas to kilowatts, I mean, whatever the conversion you want to use, natural gas is cheap today. It's 3 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour if you want to use the same scale. And so for us, as I mentioned, today, we're not cost competitive with natural gas. We would need to either see decreases in our system cost, or as I mentioned today, if you're using fuel oil or diesel for a generator, we're immediately cost competitive. Long term, I think we would either need, a carbon tax, or you would need natural gas prices to rise from historic lows that we've seen right now. Or as I mentioned, you need the standardization kind of that we've seen, that cost curve that we've seen with solar panels to kind of hit the solar thermal market.
Thank you, Jason. Any other questions from advisors?
There is an existing a solar thermal market. How does your technology compare with the existing one?
Yes. So we believe that our product increases efficiency by 30 to 40% compared to a standard flat plate receiver. And that huge boost more than pays for the, I think, about a 13% increase in cost. So that is our value proposition. And we also can achieve higher temperatures, right? And if we think of, scientifically the exergy or, any sort of measure of the value of heat, the higher temperature you can achieve, the more valuable it is. And so that is our value proposition. And having talked to people that install these types of systems, there is demand for this higher temperature application. And people just haven't been able to achieve it at a reasonable cost.
Thank you, Yuet. I believe we have a few more seconds, but that may not be enough time for another question. So I think I'm going to thank Aaron for that fantastic presentation. We really appreciate you being here today, and we are happy to see your live pitch. Thank you, Aaron. Next up, we have Hawaii Innovation, and to present, we have today Arif Rahman. Oops. Great, Arif, you are so ready.
Yes.
Feel free to turn on your camera, Arif, so that we can see you. Great.
So yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, I'm Arif Rahman, the acting CEO for this team, Hawaii Innovation Laboratory. We were founded in 2019. We are developing patent pending room temperature coating technique for concentrated solar power polymeric mirror film. The technique is estimated to reduce the manufacturing and film costs significantly compared to the current state of the art. We plan to operate partnering with the CSP installers. Concentrated solar power is superior in storage and efficiency compared to PV. Also, the capacity utilization factor of the CSP plant is 45% versus 30% for a PV plant. However, the LCOE of a CSP plant is 2.7 times higher than that of a PV, requiring significant effort for cost reduction. Current CSP technology uses bulky, costly, and expensive glass mirrors. A lighter alternative is polymeric mirror film, also quite expensive due to the use of high temperature deposition in vacuum chamber. Hawaii Innovation have addressed this challenge, developing a room temperature coating technique of fluidic metal for CSP polymeric mirror film. The mirror uses thin film of gallium alloy as the reflective coating and UV resistant polycarbonate as the superstrate. The mirror will have reflectivity approximately 91%, which is higher than aluminum and lower than silver. Also, the innovation will reduce capital expenditure by 80% and film cost by 50% compared to the current state-of-the-art polymeric mirror film. The mirror is fabricated by depositing sub-micron thin gallium alloy on a polycarbonate substrate using ultrasonic atomization and air shaping techniques. It is a second surface mirror, and the reflectivity layer is protected from weather by the UV protected polycarbonate superstrate. A prototype developed in radio stage is shown along with competitors' product on the bottom right corner. Experiment shows the fluid nature of the reflective surface exhibits self-healing in case of physical impact, providing an additional durability. One significant benefit of this mirror film is the metal is easily recyclable and can be reused for further coating. This video shows how a simple chemical treatment may recycle the metal for recoating. This is a feature unparalleled, cannot be achieved using the conventional metals, and an eco-friendly alternative of conventional mirror films. One major technology challenges, which is to develop sub-micron thin coating using ultrasound atomization, has been solved in radio stage. Also, the prototype reflectivity was measured and found to have comparable reflectivity with the 3M solar mirror film. We interviewed over 110 solar thermal experts and stakeholders in person and online. The interviews have enriched us to develop a well thought out technical and commercialization plan. We have also deeply engaged with the American-made network and beyond. The outcome is one leading parabolic trough manufacturer, one state energy company, and 2 national labs have partnered and committed their resources for the set phase of the competition. Initially, we are targeting the solar industrial process heat industry, less than 250 degrees centigrade, which is a distributed market, hence less risky compared to CSP power market. Serviceable obtainable market for mirror film process heat is 20% of the total available market. We estimate our serviceable obtainable market is about $28.2 million per year. We need $100,000 to fabricate field deployable prototype along with pilot projects for field test and durability test. I'm Dr. Arif, the team leader. Other members are Dr. Ota and Dr. Ilasi. We have combined over 40 years of experience in industry research, entrepreneurial experience mostly in microfabrication, optics, and clean energy. However, we do not have experience with CSP plant installation. So to fill the gap, we have partnered with a leading US parabolic trough manufacturer. They have 17 years of CSP project installations and operations experience. Also, we partnered with the National Energy Laboratory Hawaii Authority for the pilot project. We are uniquely positioned and have put together a strong team to overcome the technical challenges and drive this innovation to the market. Thank you very much. As we say in Hawaii, mahalo nui noa.
Arif, very well done with a couple of seconds to spare. So great job. Looks like we have a few questions. Don, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Good job, Arif. My question relates, have you done any testing in terms of the durability of your material in terms of long-term exposure to UV rays? Being an ambient temperature application, is there any inherent problem with long-term UV exposure?
We didn't do any durability test yet, but we partnered with NREL to do the durability test. And yeah, yellowing of the polycarbonate we are using is an issue. But one good thing is that recent polycarbonate companies, I mean, they have came out with some kind of UV inhibitor, which they are providing 20 years of warranty on their product. So for the superstate or substrate, we are going to use their product. And the durability, what they are claiming, if we get the same kind of durability, I mean, whatever the durability they are claiming, we'll get the same kind of durability on our mirror. But however, we need to test it. So then NREL has, I mean, quite a good experience testing this kind of doing this kind of durability test. So we partnered up with them, and we are hoping to do this test in next phase of the competition.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Don. For any further questions from our advisors? All right, it looks like we don't have more questions. Arif, thank you so much for being here and for such a fantastic presentation.
Thank you, Shreya.
All right, next up, we have Solar Block. And to present today, we have with us Scott Longley. Hi, Scott, we can see you whenever you're ready.
All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you and see you okay.
All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. And there we go. Just a quick second here. Get everything queued up.
Take your time, no problem.
All right, how does that look? Are we good?
Yep. If you're ready, I will give you my cue.
Excellent. Let's do it.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Excellent. We are Solar Block, a vertical solar solutions company based in East Hampton, Massachusetts. Even though the photovoltaic effect was discovered in the 1800s, solar did not become a mainstream energy option in the US until the 1970s. At that time, solar was either on rooftops or on the ground in community-based solar farms. But what if your roof could not support solar? What if you did not have the land for a community solar farm? These are the questions that Pat Quinlan, the inventor of Solar Block, thought about a great deal. So Pat saw the need for vertical solar, and his solution was a solar mason unit, a solar module that was chemically and mechanically adhered or embedded in an ASTM-approved concrete block. And so why the block? Well, actually the block acts as a secret sauce for us. It helps our PV cells run cooler and actually avoids temperature fluctuations. And we believe this can extend our product life cycle by up to 50 years. And this is done and actually has been confirmed through studies with UMass. Another unique characteristic of Solar Block's product is that we actually offset the carbon that was created during the manufacturing of our product within 3.5 years of installation. So over the life cycle of our product, for every 5 blocks installed, you're actually able to offset 1 metric ton of carbon. So in order to bring a product like ours or make a solution like ours a reality, you need a world-class team. Patrick Quinlan, our inventor, actually was a renewable energy advisor for President Clinton in the White House. He was also a senior analyst for NREL. Jason Laverty is an R&D mason with over 20 years of job site and construction experience. Richard Hicks is the engineer who helped us with the product design. And I am Scott Longley, the COO of Solar Block. On the side, you'll see our family of manufacturing and supply chain partners, as well as system integrators. And the newest member of our family is UACI. And so they actually are a power connector, and they've played a great role in helping us sharpen our presentations and introducing us to the powerful American-made solar network. So even though Solar Block could be used in multiple building applications, we've chosen to focus on what we're calling the MUSH market: municipalities, universities, schools, and hospitals. So in the US alone, there's almost 100,000 public school buildings. But in Massachusetts, if you look at all the schools built before 1969, and you were only to take 3% of those schools, you'd actually have 22 schools. So if those schools were to adopt a Solar Block solution, these could actually generate up to 2.1 million kilowatt hours per year. So this is it's a very compelling motivation for that power type of generation. The other reason why people would want to develop Solar Block or adopt Solar Block is the CDC and the EPA has strong recommendations for post-COVID air circulation in buildings. And so Solar Block could be the engine that powers that new ventilation system. Carbon legislation, carbon reduction legislation, grid congestion, and the challenge of land use or availability are also other reasons that are influences or market factors that would increase the interest in our product. So while schools are a great place to install, our key customers are actually architects, general contractors, local government, and school officials. And so these are the people who actually will be very interested in the benefits that we can provide. So you can see over the past year since COVID hit, we've been very busy. We've made a great deal of progress, and we've actually have many strategic partners and our go-to-market a pathway that we're definitely proud to work with. So if you look at the analysis, what does Solar Block bring in comparison to other providers? We actually have a very comprehensive and well-balanced and compelling value proposition compared to existing systems, rooftop solar, community solar farms. We believe we can complement them, but we don't necessarily, we can definitely add other factors that they cannot bring to the table. So for 2021, our goals are, we want to sell 75,000 SMUs between now and the end of the year. We want to install 8 sites. And if we do this, we'd be able to have a profit of roughly $1 million. Our goals for 2022, hit the gas. Volume is key to us because it'll help us improve our margins. And we believe that we can actually install 13 sites and have a profit of 6.9 million. For 2022 and beyond, the sky's the limit. Our ask today is we're raising 1.5 million in seed round funding. We want to use this proceeds for capital equipment. We're also looking to hire a CEO. We need to transition from a product development role into somebody who can help us with go-to-market. We're also seeking advisors with construction and renewable energy experience. So at Solar Block, we like to say, connect the blocks, power the building, offset the carbon, and create the jobs. Thank you. Just made it.
Fantastic. Look at that.
I was waiting for Pham.
Very well done, Scott. Thank you for a great presentation. Looks like Dawn has a question.
Good job, Scott. My question relates to the economics of your solar blocks.
Yes.
Do you have any comparisons in terms of the cost of your material versus conventional products now being used? If I was a school district putting this in, what's my return on investment if I use solar block technology?
Right. And so before I get into that, I want to say is Jason Laverty here, who's co-founder, as well as Patrick Quinlan. So we've been actually paying a lot of attention to the economics, because in order to have a great solution, you need to make sure it's affordable. And so what we're focusing on is making sure that that cost target offers schools or other users an ROI, and we're really comparing it against the incremental cost of if they were to establish or to build a wall themselves. So if you build a wall using masonry products or a blocks, and if you build a wall of solar blocks, our ROI is actually less than 2 years on the incremental cost of solar block. So we believe, and we've actually done a lot of customer discovery. And when you look at the ability for the power we're generating, plus the carbon we'd be offsetting, and the opportunity for people who don't necessarily have land available to make a choice for solar, they found this very compelling value proposition.
Thank you.
Yep. We have more information, and we actually have done detailed cost studies. So if anybody would like to get into it in more detail, please feel free to reach out to us. We have a very well-developed network of manufacturers, and we've dived into the cost because that's kind of what we've been focusing on from day one, just to make sure it's a reality for us. You know, you can have a great product, but if nobody can afford it, it's definitely not going to be successful in the market.
Any other questions from advisors?
Hi, this is Christina Marullo. I have a quick question. I wonder how the production of energy in a solar block compares with traditional PV.
So Pat, you want to?
Sure. I'm formerly with NREL and actually used to model this kind of thing at NREL. And so what we're looking at is the equivalent of a vertically tilted solar. And at the latitudes in the United States, especially in the top third of the United States, solar block on a vertical surface actually compares quite well with tilted solar. When you take into account the fact that snow is a factor, many solar simulations don't include the effect of snow. For us, it's actually a benefit because we pick up the albedo, the reflected light from any surfaces on the ground. Even during the year, we pick up reflected light from wet surfaces, brown, white. It's just a very, very good alternative.
We do have white papers with greater detail, so feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to share. We have more detailed answers than that, but thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Christina, for your question. Scott, thank you so much for being here with us today and for a fantastic presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Our pleasure.
Next up, we have Pellucid, Oregon State, and to present today, we have Bob Lukvar.
Hello.
Hi, Bob. I believe you'll be able to share your screen once Scott.
Yeah, I can't share right now.
No worries. Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. Well, famous last words. Are you seeing that or no?
I don't see your screen yet. If you're having any challenges, let me know. I also have your deck.
Let's see if we can do it that way.
Okay. Would you like me to share my screen?
Are you able to see now?
Mm-hmm.
It just says failed to start. Well, if you can share that, that would be terrific.
Yeah, no problem. So here we go. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
I can.
Okay. So whenever you're ready, I'll give you a cue and we can begin, okay?
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey, hello, everybody. I'm Bob Luke Pham, Chief Executive Officer at Pellissier Technologies. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today. If you could flip to the next slide, please. Pellissier was spun out of Oregon State University to commercialize nanotechnology that was invented there at the university. Development was supported by the National Science Foundation, by Virtue Lab, and by Onami. We've just completed our Series 2 venture round with leading technology investors, Energy Innovation Capital and Fortistar. If you could flip to the next slide. Pellissier manufactures and develops unique anti-reflective, anti-soiling silica coatings for the solar industry and for a number of other applications. Our coatings offer industry-leading anti-reflective performance. We have unique low-temperature curing that can cure from 35 degrees C all the way up to 800 degrees C, which is important in a number of different applications. We have a dry anti-soiling capability that I'll share a bit more with you about in a moment. Very high durability and an ability to tune to the optical wavelength for a particular need, all the way down to 300 nanometers and all the way up to above 1,000 nanometers. We have applications in solar and automotive and electronics and other areas. You can flip to the next slide, please. Our flagship product is the MoreSun anti-reflective, anti-soiling shield for the solar industry. Thanks to our low temperature curing, we have a formulation that for the product that can be applied in the field for modules that don't have a factory AR coating. And of course, MoreSun is being used by a growing number of solar module manufacturers, either in the glass factory or during module assembly on things like CAD/TEL product that are temperature sensitive. If you can flip to the next slide. Our retrofit MoreSun product is now in its first full year of commercialization, and it's quickly established itself as the market leader in North America. We have field coatings over the past several years that we've done for a number of demonstration projects, and we're showing optical energy gains from just the AR properties alone of between 4 and 5% out in the real world in the field. If you can flip to the next slide. We also have this really unique dry anti-soiling capability that's built around a surface structure of the nano coating. It's ideally suited for high dust, arid environments. And here you see an example from California after 1 week after the coating. And if you flip to the next slide, you'll see those same modules 7 weeks down the road. And while the resolution on the screen might not be terrific, the more important thing is the chart on the right. And on the chart on the right, what you see in San Joaquin Valley is an initial 4% or 3.9% energy improvement from the optical performance. And then over the course of the season, you see the energy improvement rise all the way to 12% versus the uncoated modules. And that's really due to the anti-soiling performance of the film. Then you see a rain event and it comes back down to a 4% optical improvement. And if you flip to the next slide, what you'll see is here you see modules, which is the same as the picture behind me, but you see modules that have been in the field in California for over a year with no washing whatsoever. And the coated modules are generating an average of 8% additional energy versus the uncoated modules from a combination of the anti-reflective and anti-soiling benefits. And just flip to the next slide, if you would. Of course, MoreSun's been tested both by Pellissier and by third parties for durability. Our field cured coating outperforms the leading factory cured anti-reflective coating across most of the typical industry standard durability tests. If you can flip to the next slide. We design and manufacture a robotic applicator system that provides 100 nanometer film plus or minus 10%. It's a patented applicator system. Our product meets all of the requirements of California's new field installed AR coatings, and our robot meets all of the OEM requirements for weight and distribution. We flip to the next slide. Our next product, which we've been working with the American Solar Prize on, is the Talus anti-soiling shield for the retrofit market. The Talus product goes on top of factory AR coatings to provide an additional anti-soiling layer. If you flip to the next slide, unlike the previous generation of hydrophobic coatings, Talus provides an anti-soiling coating for highly arid environments where dust and dirt accumulation are the greatest. It's tested for durability, will not break down in UV light. It has no organics. It doesn't interfere with the optical performance of AR coatings from the factory. It's field installable. And we have a next generation of robotic applicators that ensure that we get a cost-effective application. If you can flip to the next slide. We're getting tremendous amount of interest from the market, and this tells you why. Yeah, and so with that, I think we're done.
Thank you, Bob. I can flip through the slides depending on any questions, but I'm unable to see the questions as I'm sharing my screen. So advisors, feel free to unmute your mic and ask a question if you have one.
Bob, this is Don Morrison. Good job. So based on your properties, are you looking primarily at the areas that are hot and dusty versus areas that are getting a lot of rain?
Yeah, that's the biggest value for the anti-soiling retrofit market. We have good performance in these higher rain environments, and our OEMs are looking at both, obviously, but because really they're buying the anti-reflective properties. But for a retrofit market, we're really looking at desert environments because that's where the biggest bang for your buck is. We have, for example, a client in Egypt that's washing 24 times a year. Yeah, so this is a chance to really improve that.
Thank you.
I think this is a great idea. Can you talk a bit about the your cost benefit of the retrofit versus the maintenance costs? I think that probably will be able to prove in your approach.
Yeah. So good round number is we're getting about a 3-year payback on our anti-reflective film, and we believe we're going to be able to get the same on our anti-soiling film. So typically, the asset owner is getting a 3-year or less payback.
Very good. Thank you.
And obviously, there are a lot of other applications for the technology, and we have lots of interest from automotive and a variety of other areas where we're testing as well.
We have time for a few more questions.
This is Christina again. Thank you for the presentation. I'm wondering if there's like a degradation of the like, does the product degrade over time?
Yes, so we tend to not to have a linear degradation curve like what you would see in PV, which I think is what most people ask about when they ask about degradation. We've tested it for durability, and the field install, we had, I probably shouldn't say who, but a third-party OEM test the product, and they came back after their proprietary test, which took 6 months, and said it will last 177 years. I don't really believe it'll last 177 years, but we believe that it's got a 10 to 20-year life. So that's for the field installed, field cured product. For the factory cured product, it's certainly life of panel coating.
Thank you.
A couple more seconds. I think we can take one more question.
Jason Blumberg from Energy Foundry. What's your cost per watt installed then? You said 3-year payback. You're probably doing what, 8% efficiency on that?
We're getting, so you say at 8% efficiency.
Well, I guess what efficiency are you using for that payback and gain, and what cost per watt are you using?
Yeah, so it's project specific, right? So it depends on, I mean, it's hard to talk about that in generic terms because it's very project specific. So it depends how much soiling, how many times they're cleaning a year,
right,
how much the cost of cleaning is, what their PPA is if they're in the US or their feed-in tariff in Europe. So it's really, we model each project using PV-Syst and or with with a typical solar module modeling thing, and then we figure out what the cost is going to be. Typically, you can think of a walking around number for our anti-reflective product is about $3 a square meter installed. Our cost for the anti-soiling product will be somewhere less than half of that.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, advisors. We are at the end of time for this presentation and Q&A session. Bob, thank you so much for being here with us today. Next up, we have Cool Tech Solar. And to present, we have today with us Kaizong Gao.
Okay, so let me see if you guys can see this screen.
Yes, we can see your screen, but we're unable to see you.
Is that front page? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I will
Ready.
give you a cue.
Ready?
3, 2, 1, go.
Our technology, solar panel with heatsink. My name is Kaizong Gao. I'm the team leader for the Cool Tech Solar team. This work is with the support from American-made network partners. Of course, last year, American-made solar price run for ready state winner success. Our team name was this among winners. We were excited and realized there were significant challenges in front of us in the following 3 months. Since our technology is above heatsink, proof of concept require high temperature.
Kaizong, apologies to interrupt, but the audio on your end is
It's not clear?
Yes, it's not clear. We're having trouble hearing you.
Okay, let me switch that. Let me reshare, please.
I will pause the timer.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Let me try to get my backup. Let me see, how can I unshare this one? Share again. How do I get to the panel? Oh, here. I have to stop sharing this and then reshare a different screen. Okay, you guys can see this screen now?
Yeah, I can see your slide. I can see your slide. I'm going to restart the timer whenever you're ready, okay?
Okay, give me just 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry about this technical glitch.
No
yeah,
worries.
okay, so I will start.
Okay.
So my name is Kaizong Gao. We are
one more thing. We're seeing your presentation view. So if you could click on display settings on top.
This one?
Yes. And click swap presenter view and slideshow. Yes, much better. All right.
Okay.
3,
okay,
2,
I'll start.
Go.
Okay, so our topic is solar panel with heatsink. My name is Kaizong Gao. We are the Cool Tech Solar team, and we got lots of help from American-made network partners on this topic. So the problem we are trying to address are 2 things. Number one, when the current solar module gets in the field, we lose about 10% efficiency during the operation, and simply because light induces degradation. And as the temperature go up, your coupling conversion efficiency drop. So this is almost universal regardless what kind of material currently we are using. And when we put this into perspective, people can actually see just for the US alone, this is equivalent to about 8.5 kilowatt hour loss in 2021, basically this year. And moving forward, this number only grow over time. So when we look at the second problem we are trying to solve is we realize there are large scale defect or the crack of the solar backsheet. And this actually causing early degradation, and there is no good solution for those failure in the field. And people try to claim manufacturer warranty, and right now it's a painful legal process. And the way we were trying to do is conceptually adding the heatsink. And this by increase the surface area so that we can improve the efficiency, lower the solar module temperature during the operations. And in fact, if we look at over the past, there were lots of different approach that people have been using in our industry. And all of them have shown a lot of the good results in terms of R&D on the paper, but there is almost none being implemented by the industry. From our perspective, we realize the key issue is the cost. We need to get the cost down to less than 1 cent per watt in order to be attractive. So the way we were doing is initially we provide our conceptual design, adding this additional layer. And then we demonstrate the initial process with proprietary material choice. And then through the design modeling, we think we can get to at least 10 to 15% peak temperature reduction on the solar cells during the operation. So we were selected, and then part of these 90 days, we conduct some customer discovery. Then we focus on these two primary applications, including the one that we apply on the back of the solar module, so that without changing the current manufacture process, installation process, or shipping packaging process, we can actually getting them to lower, to lower the operation temperature and improve CE and extend the lifetime. The second is just trying to fix the existing failure for this that occurs in the field. We estimate totally about 400 million per year total market for these areas. And we get a few of these, as you guys can actually see, a few of these partners. And I want to highlight, for example, this partner is actually solar backsheet manufacturer, will be down the road our customer, and this one will be solar module manufacturer will also be using us, our product. So in terms of demonstrate them, we find that we have significant challenge because this announcement is in the December, just 3 months ago, and we need to do the test at a high temperature full sun condition. But we were in Minnesota. In both of these cases, you guys can actually see the average daily high temperature is still in freezing temperature. But however, we already signed up for it, so there is no way we escape from that. So this is actually one of the highlighted comparison demonstration we recently did. These are two full-size 100-watt panel. For reference, we did initial screening, and you can see 3-degree difference between the two panels. We take the panel with a higher peak temperature, we coat it with our material, and then we redo the test after an hour. And you can see the peak temperature on both panels now is comparable within 1 degree. So we actually see the peak temperature reduction more than 10% in this particular case. We repeat it several times. We make sure all these results can be repeatable. And so what we have achieved so far, right? And just in last 3 to 4 months, and what we find is we actually find one of the optimized design, and we develop our materials, the secret sauce we call. And then we complete the proof of concept demonstration. And then we also identify the key application for this technology and the market requirement.
Faizan, thank you. We are at the end of time. Apologies.
Okay. So
thank you.
I probably have to stop here. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Advisors, any questions?
Hi, this is Sarah here. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the manufacturing process.
So actually this manufacture process, we were using, the way we were using to coating this material can be using a standard manufacture process like roll to roll or spray coating or spin coating, or the general, even some standard brush coating, depends on what kind of the surface material the backsheet manufacturer is using. We're working with Thomas Wharton on this process development, and the added process cost is very negligible. We have the roadmap developed. We eventually will get the cost down to less than 0.5 cents per watt. And the payback time is within 1 year for this case. So this is a company we're working if we got selected for the next stage. Sorry, basically here. I don't know if you guys can see it or not.
Yeah, we're able to see your screen, guys. No
yeah. They were our manufacturer partner for the apply this code to the backsheet.
Jason Blumberg from Energy Foundry. Happy to ask questions if it appears that no one else does. What is your conversion efficiency and how are you calculating that? to get to a half set?
Yeah, so depending on what kind of the solar panel material you are using, you can see from this earlier chart, people measure, they have slightly different decay rate. But typically when we see we get a 10 to 15% of peak temperature reduction, we talk about 3 to 5 degrees C. So you can using this to go back and calculate. In many of the current material large scale utilized in the field, we are talking about 2 to 3% additional CE you get. But in reality, we are trying to be just a little bit more conservative. So we will claim at least you get more than 1% CE back to your system. But even with that, because our cost is extremely low, you still get your payback. But the more important aspect is when you're actually dropping your peak temperature by 3 to 5 degrees, you're actually making your solar module last much longer. So the actual lifetime for your system will be improved. Your failure rate will be reduced by quite a bit. And if you look at Unreal's paper, they talk about every 10-degree peak temperature reduction, you get your failure rate at least cut in half. So we are talking about projected 20% extra lifetime in long term. So that is where we gain a lot more in terms of LCOE. So if we can switch out,
well, but that's a 20-year discount. What's your discount rate then that you're doing to add to the LCOE to make that matter?
Yeah. So you don't really, for 20% additional lifetime, you don't really always convert back to 20% LCOE reduction. But the key thing is we get both the benefit of CE improvement as well as lifetime improve. So combine
so you'll
both
move up
them.
the curve here on efficiency, the power curve here, is that?
We basically,
so what temperature do you keep it at?
Getting to a lower temperature for operating point. And therefore we always operate at more efficient point compared to our baseline.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Kaizong. Thank you,
you,
advisors, for your questions. Kaizong, thank you for a great presentation and for being here with us today. Next,
sure. You're welcome.
To wrap up session 1, we have New Age Solar and we have Rosalie Muscat to present today on behalf of New Age Solar. Rosalie, when you're ready, you may turn on your video and share your screen.
You were going to...
Yeah, I'll drive your presentation today.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. Thank you. I just need to increase the size and get full screen.
I think if I maximize it more, I don't think I'll be able to move through the other slides.
That's fine. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rosalie Muscat. Our company is New Age Solar. Jerry Sorgento, our team leader, founded New Age Solar in 2002 as a traditional solar integration design and consulting firm. And as climate change really began to wreak havoc, Jerry decided that he wanted to transition our mission and develop an emergency solar and battery backup system. Next slide, please. So I'm sure we're all aware of the recent events in Texas and the other natural disasters that continue to plague our nation. And the strain that is just continuing to be put on our aging grid is just going to increase the amount of grid outages that occur on a regular basis. And unfortunately, most cities and towns, first responders and other essential service workers don't have adequate equipment to provide to their residents and small businesses during really catastrophic events. nor do they generally focus on renewable energy as a resource. And they continue to use traditional gas generators, which we know are unsafe and unhealthy and dangerous to operate. So enter the Mighty Power System, our innovation. Please, next slide, please, sorry. Mighty Power System is our innovation, excuse me. It's a transportable emergency and off-grid solar backup power and solar generator. It's patent, the PPG, which is our solar array. Next slide, please, is a patented solar array. It's an all aluminum frame. 2 frames are hinged together, and the current incarnation delivers 1220 DC watts. The system is scalable. The Mighty Box is our battery backup energy storage unit, and up to 4 PPGs can be networked together with one Mighty Box. The Mighty Box is also scalable. We have companion battery backup units, and we can also include in a companion an additional charge controller, so that we could actually even bring more solar capacity into the realm. The system has a lot of very unique and interesting design features, including built-in windscreens. There is a device called the Claw. There are 8 of them, and the Claw actually grips the ground, and it contains 12 protrusions. There are 8 claws in each PPG, which add additional stability for wind loads and seismic activity. Next slide, please. Our system is rugged and reliable. Unlike other systems, it's rapidly deployed by truck, trailer, or aircraft. There is even a built-in carrying aperture on the PPG that allows it to be lifted by aircraft and to actually be delivered in areas where traditional vehicles cannot travel. It's easy to move, it's easy to set up. As you can see, one person can move it alone. It weighs about 225 pounds, and we have large caster wheels, which are interchangeable sizing. And the size of this, and as well as a diagonal crossbar, really aids stability for one person to move it to its site. When it's sited, it requires 2 people to set it up, and within minutes, it's operational and powering critical devices. Next slide, please. It's a prefabricated system, plug and play. As I mentioned earlier, it's scalable. We have an in-series and in-wiring configuration. So the PPGs are actually capable of being installed in a larger scale installation in an in-series configuration.
Thank you, Rosalie. We're unfortunately at the end of time.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration.
No problem. If you want me to continue to share my screen, I can. As advisors have any questions, if you want me to go to a specific slide, I absolutely can. Advisors, if you have any questions.
Rosalie, this is Don Morrison. Good job.
Thank you.
Do you have any data on the cost differential of your system versus a traditional power generator in terms of the cost and the output?
Are you referring to gas generators?
Yes.
We actually don't have the cost differential, although we do know that traditional gas generators, not natural gas generators, but portable gas generators would be a lot less costly than what we're offering. But we feel that our system is unique and actually has added value. I'm sorry that we ran out of time. There's a slide in there that shows a large scale installation that can be installed. And so there's the potential for ROI for the end user. But I actually do not have the figures.
Okay, so is your target, who is your target market?
If you go to the next slide, our target market are utilities, first responders, municipalities, military. We really feel that our system is, despite the fact that the output is not as great, obviously, as many large gas generators, the fact that it is scalable and easily transportable and movable, we feel makes it stand out.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We have time for a couple more questions.
Hi, this is Jay Murray. A lot of focus has recently been put on specifically developing technologies for forward operating soldiers in remote areas, which this could ostensibly be used for. Has any research on your side been done towards communication or management of the technology and of the energy once it's been deployed? So communicating with stakeholders, understanding what the energy is being used for, and managing that.
We are still very much in the prototype stage. We are actually working and getting assistance from PTAC, which is a Department of Defense agency that is oriented to working with small businesses to help them sell to the government. And so we have been in contact with them. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, a lot has just been put on hold, but we definitely know that that our system would work in forward operating bases, especially in remote missions and overseas where fuel convoys are constantly targeted. And so the safety of a system like ours, we feel will definitely be advantageous.
Jason Blumberg from Energy Foundry. How does your system compare
Jason,
to...
apologies. We're at the end of time for this section. Apologies. Thank you, Rosalie. Great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. This actually brings us to the end of session 1. So before we move into session 2, just give me one moment. All right, so before we move into session 2, I want to thank all the teams that participated today in session 1. You all did a fantastic job, and we are so thrilled to have had the opportunity to watch your live presentations. As a reminder, we have the virtual networking session today from 4 to 5 p.m. And we will drop off from this Zoom webinar and move to Remo. And the link to register is on this slide. So feel free to take a picture or note it down, and you will be able to register using this link to come to the session on Remo. So before we move to session 2, I want to give a few minutes for our next set of teams to get settled and get ready, and for our next set of advisors to also get ready. And in the meantime, I would love to share a video about the American-made solar prize with you all.
The $16 billion solar industry has created hundreds of thousands of jobs, but things are just getting started. To support a new generation of American solar innovators and entrepreneurs, the Department of Energy created a $3 million prize competition. The American-made Solar Prize is helping transform great ideas into technology solutions that are ready for market.
The Solar Prize is wide open as far as opportunity to propose your best and brightest idea.
It's ideal for an innovator who wants to have the runway, the financial runway to develop the technology and actually get over that valley of death, actually having a producible product.
Through a series of contests, competitors win progressively larger and larger cash prizes to advance their ideas.
One of the really fantastic parts about the Solar Prize competition is it's a prize, and the ability to get the money without all the complicated overhead and administration means that we were able to put it to use immediately.
Each step of the way, competitors will also receive expertise, technical support, and guidance from national laboratories, energy incubators, and industry partners.
The network is there to help teams fill in gaps. So if a team doesn't necessarily have access to a prototyping facility, we are there for them. And if they don't have access to maybe find the right connections that they need for testing or business plan development, we have people that will help them with that as well.
The partnerships we've developed as a result of the American-made Solar Challenge have been tremendous. They have helped us write and rewrite our business plan, our patents filings, our CAD specifications. The partnership in this community has really been tremendous, and our partners have dramatically accelerated and de-risked our business plan.
By supporting these entrepreneurs, the American-made Solar Prize advances solar innovation and empowers the leaders shaping our energy future.
Yeah, we're all trying to work for the same future, right?
We are, and it's inspiring to be around like a lot of different, completely different areas with all the unifying aspect of clean energy, renewable energy, but completely different approaches at different aspects of the problem, and that gives us energy.
Visit AmericanMadeChallenges.org to learn more.
All right, everyone, welcome back to session 2. I want to thank all of the teams and advisors that have joined us for this second portion of today's event. So the next round of presentations, this is the order of teams that will be presenting. So as a reminder, teams, if you haven't already taken a picture, please take a photo of this slide so that you are aware of the order of presentations for today. Advisors, you may also take a picture or make a note of the order of presentations for round 2. I'll leave the slide up for a couple more seconds. All right. Just as a reminder of the presentation guidelines, once again, each presenter will have exactly 5 minutes for their pitch presentation, followed by 3 minutes for Q&A from the advisory panel. At the end of 5 minutes, you will receive an audio signal, which is your cue to wrap up your presentation. We highly recommend presenters to run a timer on their end, as we're unable to provide in-between time checks. Advisors, you have 3 minutes to ask teams any questions that you have or to provide any feedback. Please also feel free to record your feedback in the Solar Prize Pitch Showcase feedback form, as that is immensely valuable feedback to teams as they're preparing for future pitch competitions and other similar events. So we appreciate any feedback that you're able to provide in the pitch feedback form. If you're unable to access the form for any reason, please email Daniela Grieman at dgrieman@andrew.cmu.edu. You may drop your questions in the chat directly to me, or you can just let me know that you have a question, and I will ensure that you have an opportunity to unmute your mic and ask your question directly. This is the Pitch Showcase feedback form. Hopefully I see a lot of responses coming in, so hopefully everyone is all set and has access to this form, but if you do not, feel free to email Daniela and we will get you set up with the form. Before I introduce our first team in session 2, I just want to know if there are any questions. Advisors and presenters, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. All right, without further ado, introducing our first team of session 2, we have Lightfoot, and to present on behalf of Lightfoot, we have today with us Arjun Bhargava. Hi, Arjun.
Hey everyone, just give me a second here to get the screen up. Also, I apologize in advance if there's any background noise. I'm actually moving today, so it's a pretty busy day.
We appreciate you being here, despite all. When you're
Great,
ready.
so can everyone see the screen?
We're able to see your screen. Let me get my timer ready here. You ready, Arjun?
Ready when you are.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Great. All right, everyone. Hi, I'm Arjun, and I'm representing Lightfoot. And Lightfoot is maybe a little different than some of the other things that you've seen today. And, you know, to put it succinctly, we're here to change how people get around with solar-powered self-charging electric vehicles. That might sound crazy, but let's start from the beginning, and hopefully by the end, you'll all want one. So the story starts very simply, which is that most vehicle trips, in fact, over 50%, are less than 3 miles long. And that share of trips is actually only growing over time. What's more is those trips are all very, very slow, especially in urban and suburban areas. In fact, you know, according to McKinsey, in the top 100 cities in the world, once you have basically more than 1 million people living in a city, the average traffic speeds are no more than 15 kilometers an hour. And in fact, from Uber's data, we actually know that Ubers in most cities also don't get around much faster than between 16 and 20 miles an hour. And so what that presents is a huge market opportunity at the intersection of short trips and slow trips. And again, McKinsey has sized this total market as the micromobility market at $300 billion. Obviously, that's, you know, the big number we need to say to wow everyone. But we actually realistically believe that there's a niche within this market for us that we've sized at around $3 billion for high frequency city dwellers who currently rely on a patchwork of different modes to get around, but who are interested in simplifying how they move around town. And so just, again, that opportunity is only growing, right? With COVID-19, pretty much everyone has shifted to asking for more convenience, more privacy. And, you know, so we've seen a big uptick in delivery drivers, in other conveniences, and actually a huge spike in micromobility sales. So e-bikes and e-scooters have grown in their market share by over 100% in both the US and Europe. But you guys probably had a good sense of that. So let's talk about what we do. Basically, we saw this market landscape and we asked ourselves, is there an exciting vehicle that we could build to basically hit that niche exactly? And could we do it completely independently of any charging infrastructure? And so we went sort of wild with our imaginations. So we built a lot of things. We built a solar powered car with Toyota. Actually, every single one of us who works at Lightfoot rides around a solar powered bicycle. And what we found is that they really started to work for us. And we looked at commute data from all of the different existing systems that we could possibly gather. So bike shares, ride shares, and we basically built comprehensive models in 10 different cities of how people move around, depending on the season, depending on the time of day. And we found that for the most part, if you could build a vehicle that you could charge just off of the sun and get about 10 to 20 miles of range, you can essentially have a perpetual motion machine where you start off at the beginning of the year with a fully charged battery and you end at the end of the year with a fully charged battery, so long as you use the vehicle correctly. So we literally went to the drawing board. We built a ton of prototypes to build something and came up eventually, after a few iterations, some sexier than others, with the Lightfoot light utility vehicle. And so the Lightfoot scooter is a private use seated scooter. It's durable, always ready, has a configurable top speed depending on regulations. generous internal storage, suspension, and again, it's meant for people who are city or suburban dwellers who want to use it for leisure, running everyday errands, or just getting around town more seamlessly and sustainably. And so over the past year or so, obviously with COVID-19, it's been hard to get out there and start doing consumer testing, but we actually were able to partner with a company called LineScale to have real customer feedback with over 1,000 consumers. And so we learned a very, very long list of their preferences. And we can go into more detail at another time, but we basically found that 47% of them would be willing to switch to Lightfoot over their current mode of transportation. And in particular, they would be willing to do that for a subscription option, which included sort of insurance and all the other amenities that you would want around this. Running out of time here, but we found that that gives us a pretty significant competitive advantage over other existing micromobility services, and that we believe we've happened upon a financial model that would allow us to sort of self-sustain this business and grow without necessarily having to take too much dilutive or debt investment.
Arjun, thank you. We are at the end of time.
Great.
All right, advisors, any questions?
This is Jay Murray. Less of a question, more of an observation. You started the deck talking about Uber. I'm not quite sure Uber is the primary mode of other transportation your user would be using, just given the cost structure. There's a recently released, I don't know if it was Wall Street Journal or it was New York Times, article about the return of public transportation with COVID and how it's been a very slow uptick. So I would love to hear more about public transportation versus your solution, rather than maybe micromobility in the sense of Uber or Lyft versus your transportation method.
Sure. So I bring up Uber just as an example of I think what we're trying to do is benchmark ourselves against sort of daily costs, right? So if you take an Uber, and again, most trips on Ubers are very short. And so that actually, I would politely disagree, but that is sort of the market share that we want to eat into, right? Public transportation is a slightly different market in that, the riders who currently use public transportation may not be looking for sort of the premium ride experience and things like that. And there's other, it's hard to fit in sort of a direct comparison to public transportation, just because we haven't had a chance to sort of talk to those customers, honestly, to figure out whether or not they would be interested in switching.
Thank you, Jay. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Christina with Energy Boundary. Thank you for the presentation. Super cool. I'm wondering if there's any target cities that you're like looking to market in, and where you're hoping to start off with there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the question we always get is, does this work, up north? And, the answer is that actually in many situations it does. Our latitudes are not quite as restricted as people would think. But for our initial run, so we have a initial run of 500 to 1,000 units that we are hoping to deliver in the fall of this year. And we'll primarily be targeting sort of southern states and California. So San Diego, Phoenix, LA are our three first markets.
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you, Christina, for your question. Arjun, that was a fantastic presentation. Thank you for being here despite the the busyness of today. We appreciate it so much. Next up, we have Nomis Power Group, and to present, we have Adam Morgan.
Hey there, guys.
Hi, Adam. Good to see you, and excellent background. I can see you now.
Let me share my screen. Yeah, it does appear I'm popping in and out here. I can get rid of it later.
No problem. Whenever you're ready, I can cue you in.
Okay, make it full screen.
Okay. All right.
Yep, very good.
3, 2, 1, go.
In an effort to reduce the cost of PV energy and improve system efficiency, system integrators often need to oversize their PV installations by increasing the number of PV modules used. This is so that the PV inverter and the electronics that connect the PV arrays to the grid will operate close to its full power rating. And this is called increasing the inverter loading ratio. Now, generator step-up transformers that are currently used to interface PV systems to the distribution grid are large in size, heavy in weight, passive in power flow, and cannot provide the necessary voltage and frequency regulation, which is critical for future large-scale, widespread PV systems. Now, in the face of this challenge, we at Nomus Power Group have developed an innovative enabling technology that helps eliminate the need for those large step-up unregulated transformers that are limiting the scale of solar power by instead offering a smaller, controllable, semiconductor-based power electronic switch to do the job of the power regulation. Now, these next generation PV inverters, often sometimes called solid-state transformers or SSTs, facilitate the grid stability by allowing for bidirectional power flow. And this enables, the interface of energy storage to also now be easily integrated with behind the meter commercial, industrial, and large-scale PV systems. So Nomus high power electronic switches are now made from an advanced material called silicon carbide, which is a wide bandgap semiconductor that allows them to operate at high temperatures with high efficiency, which translates to the PV integrator operate their PV systems at higher inverter loading ratios, which then in turn improves the system efficiency and lowers PV prices for consumers. Now, in order to form this innovative power electronic switch, we've packaged the chips that come from the silicon carbide wafers inside supporting materials and electrically interconnect them to the power and control terminals, which then are utilized in these next generation PV inverters and SSTs. So several prototypes were made and sent to our American-made network partners at the Freedom System Center at NC State for electrical functionality testing during this phase of the competition. And firstly, the prototypes were tested under static conditions. So you can see them here hooked up to the electrical circuitry to simulate the electrical circuit that they would go into. And we basically wanted to make sure that our electronic power switches could indeed turn off and stay off and subsequently turn on and stay on. And so this was done with applying different control signals and then looking at what the power output terminals were doing. And here you can see that dynamic testing was performed to observe the prototype's behavior and see that in fact they were turning on and off to on, and then measuring the efficiency of that switching action. And then lastly, a portion of the next gen PV inverter, which is the 3-phase inverter of the SST, was built and tested in a testbed to observe the functionality to generate grid-side AC power. And so here you can see the DC power from the bus being converted from the PV to 60 Hertz AC into the power grid. And so with the proof of concept validated, we're very confident that a scaled up version of the electronics switch could then help SST, PV, and energy storage developers further improve their systems. Now, in anticipated that the power electronics market is supposed to grow on a global scale to over $1.1 billion by the year 2027, we at Nomus are especially focused on efforts in the medium voltage power electronics application market, where our technology can enable a direct connection of the increasing number of distributed PV systems right to the grid. With our larger prototypes, that is our next plan, we'll be targeting the power electronics engineers of R&D groups and these power management companies to then meet with the builders and integrators who are making these next generation PV inverters for their direct connections. And our customer discovery has helped validate this on many respects. So our success will be driven by our team's unique combination of knowledge and skills. and are specifically now we're focusing on building our non-technical talent in the marketing and clean tech spaces. And now to achieve our goals, we're leveraging our extensive network, which is really spanning worldwide, from companies, universities, national labs, and research organizations, to bring our technology to market faster than our peers, and of course, building a strong supply chain. And our business and economics market drivers really revolved around the economies of scale, as in the microelectronics semiconductor market.
Adam, thank you. Thank you. We're at the end of time.
Thank you.
All right. I believe we have a question. Matt, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, thank you. So great presentation, super interesting technology. So as you likely know, challenges to solar developers are not just delivering low PPA prices, but also the ability to get financing for a lot of these projects. So I'm curious, you know, have you done the math here on what's the timeline to go from where you're at to having a full bankable solution, and what other markets might you look at in the meantime?
Yeah, no, great question. So as you can kind of see here, there's a lot of other parallel markets that are ramping up, you know, in the EV fast charger space, the heavy duty and medium duty vehicle space for the electric buses and loaders at harbors and whatnot, as well as high speed rail and the electrification at harbors and marine ships. So we're targeting those in parallel with the PV market, as it really, the power electronics and these semiconductors go into the backbone of all these systems. And kind of in terms of the time frame, it usually takes about 6 months to run a full lot through the fab. And usually within that time frame, we use the results from the lot before to optimize the chips and scale the chips in size, which can then be implemented in the system. And we're looking to target the $3 per amp cost parity of what the conventional silicon technologies use. So we're hoping to reach that similar level of cost per chip for the same amperage rating within about 3 years of scaling the technology through the fab. So, and the good thing is because we're silicon carbide based and not silicon based, is we're less kind of restricted by the present bottleneck of the microelectronics industry with silicon and all the, the craziness that's going on with the supply chains from Asia to the US. I don't know if that fully answers your question, but hopefully within 3 years or so, we'll be at a large enough production scale with the foundries that we partner with to have the right size chip to match the kind of $3 per amp market expectation of what's presently used in these systems.
Yeah, I guess I was curious if there are any applications that you see here that aren't going to require as significant amount of qualification time in order to achieve, initial product sales. Because I can imagine, obviously, buses, everything else, there's going to be still significant qualification time. So are there other easier applications you can get into early, demonstrate tech before you scale?
Right. Yeah, so some of the people we're speaking with on that sense kind of are more in like the R&D groups of these kind of global markets. So the thing there is they're able to kind of prove the functionality with engineering samples without a fully qualified run, which may cost a couple $1 million to fully flesh out. And there seem to be a lot of active groups actually in some of these companies here that are willing to do that. And then kind of the idea is, if we have the right partner that are willing to, see that value proposition cost benefit, that they can kind of help bankroll some of this this costly qualification to get the product into their systems to give them the advantage.
Thank you, Adam. Much appreciated. Matt, thank you for your question. Adam, thank you so much for being here with us today. Next up, we have the R&D Lab, Roofing for the Soul. And to present, we have Brian Ashley. Great, Brian, I can see your screen. Feel free to turn on your video.
Can you guys hear me and see me now?
Perfect. Whenever you're ready, Brian, I will cue you in.
Right, let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, I'm Brian Ashley, and first of all, thank you guys for your time and advice. We're grateful to participate here today. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the R&D Lab, and our product is Roofing for the Soul. This is our product here. It is a roof on my house in Petaluma, along with 4 off-the-shelf solar panels. This is the first roof designed for solar. The reason we have designed a roof for solar is that people need roofing. Solar is something that is wanted, and only by some people. You all probably know many people who want solar but don't have it. Our product puts the solar in service to the need in order to scale solar along with better roofing. Our innovations include a metal shingle that enables fast installation. Metal has many benefits over asphalt, but labor costs have made it prohibitive for customers in the past. Because our roof is fast, it is much more affordable than typical metal roofing. And the solar hardware is designed for a more ergonomic install, which is also faster. Plus, it is mounted to the deck instead of the rafters, which again is faster. And the shingles, being sized according to the solar modules, eliminates measurement and layout steps of typical solar installs, which again is faster. Why not do this with asphalt? Not because asphalt is toxic garbage. The reason is physics. Shingles cannot be scaled up to reasonable dimensions matching solar, and they can't come close in color and gloss matching. Many have tried to design solar panels to match shingles, but this doesn't make sense. It's not like architects of the past developed asphalt shingles because of their beauty. The other problem with designing solar panels to fit roofing is that it breaks the supply chain. Current solar costs have reached incredible lows, but this is built on scale. And even now, solar costs $100 per meter squared, while roofing costs less than $10 per meter squared. The choice of which to change should be obvious. Our roof is designed for solar supply chains and for roofing labor markets. Our product serves solar roofers. They are a newer group. They already have business model advantages. Because they have lower acquisition costs, lower overhead costs, and lower soft costs by combining the jobs. Now we're designing a product for them to further improve this advantage with better aesthetics, better lifetime match, labor benefits, and a combined warranty. Solar roofers are the only group that can offer a roof that pays, and we're the only group making a product fitted to their need. Who are solar roofers? They're all over the country already. They're growing fast. There are big national players like Sonova, and most regions have small players as well. By selling a roof that pays through a channel that can offer the lowest costs, we believe we can grow to $1 billion in 5 years. This represents 20% of the current roofing market leader's share. And when solar roofers grow to cover 30% of the roofing market, we will have doubled the scale of the residential solar market. This is how our roof pays today. A plain roof is just a $10,000 bill for asphalt coated in gravel to cover real estate that has more potential. The red curve represents cash flows for our roof based on current product costs and energy offsets to the homeowner's electric bills. And with financing, it can be cash flow positive from day one. People are willing to pay this small premium because the roof lasts much longer, is recyclable, performs better in wind, hail, snow, and sun, and it already has the lower life cycle costs. And we are confident that with scale and integration, we can beat asphalt on initial costs as well. To date, we have been self-funded, and so far we have built our own solar roofing install company as a model to learn from and to share. We've built revisions of our product to test out critical functionality like labor speed, wind resistance, and installing solar from the top of the roof down. Plus, we have filed for provisional patents on several elements of this application and adjacent ones like solar roof integration with commercial roofing. And we have built an awesome team. Next, we need to raise funding in order to ramp up the team to full time so we can finalize the product and submit it for certification. Then we can ramp up sales while we build out manufacturing. Our team is why I'm confident that we can do this. We've done many products in this same space before at Zep, Solar City, and Tesla. Our core team includes Jerry, a roofer of 20 years, Ian, our certification and reliability engineer, and Kyle, our design and packaging engineer. Amy, our operations lead, and myself. I was the VP of product development at Zep, Solar City, and I helped develop the Tesla solar roof. We also have a strong group of advisors with expertise in C-level functions, manufacturing engineering, and training. The future of roofing, we believe, is solar.
Brian, thank you. We're at the
We're
end of
seeking a $2
time.
million seed round in order to ramp up.
Brian, we're at the end of time. Thank you. Advisors, any questions for Brian?
I'm just curious how long, I'm sorry, how long is the certification timeline do you expect?
It's 3 months typically. And part of what we want to do is pre-certify so that we can be confident that we'll get through it. We've done this before, and that's what it typically takes.
So you did the solar roof with Tesla, which is great, but you know, everybody believes the reason it hasn't gone out is because it's way too expensive, even as a replacement. There's other issues as well, but first cost is the key issue. So you're going to subtract the roofing cost, add that into your total cost. How long from a power perspective does it take to break even? It looked like 10 years. How much more expensive, I guess, is the first cost of the system compared to regular, the way we're doing it today?
The solar will pay for itself and the roof in about 13 years if you pay cash. But if you finance it, it can be cash flow positive at day one. I mean, in that scenario, the payback is day one, where
well, let me ask you, I asked it the wrong way. You have you redo your roof, then you add solar on top today, 5 kilowatt system or some version of that, right? So that total cost is a known cost. How much is your system versus that total cost?
Like a typical roof plus solar retrofit system is going to cost about $25,000, and ours is about $30,000.
Okay, thanks. And do you get more than 5 kilowatts out of yours then, because it's bigger?
5 kilowatts is what we've modeled, and that is the typical system size. Because we're using retrofit modules, we are going to be about average in terms of size. We're not going to be able to get more on there.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. We have time for one more question.
Hey, Brian, this is Ian. Thanks for the presentation. With the roofing materials, any issues with durability, weight, or lifetime?
No, in fact, those are all advantages to this material, is that it's lower weight, about 5 times lower. A typical roof weighs 6,000 pounds. This weighs about 900 pounds. And then, yeah, the Galvalume coated or painted metal lasts 40 plus years instead of the typical asphalt shingle 20 years.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ian. Thank you, Brian. I think we're almost at the end of time for questions too. Brian, thank you
guys.
Fantastic presentation and for being here. Next up, we have Navia Energy, and to present, we have Babu Jain. Hi, Babu. Great to see you. And I can see you. All right.
Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Yeah.
You're all set.
Ready to go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to present my company, Navia Energy. We are utilizing artificial intelligence and a unique inverter technology to solve some of the major challenges we face in the industry today, similar to Texas. So what we do is for an inverter, so normally when you install an inverter on your roof, that inverter would stop producing power if the grid fails. That's because these inverters are current source inverters. They need unlimited grid energy current source to feed power into, okay? That causes a major problem if the grid fails, because your grid fails, you have solar on your roof, but it doesn't help you. And to get around that, you need to install a battery backup, which is expensive. And many people might think that you need battery once in a while, and that's really not a right investment. So we have come out with the solution around that problem. So emergencies can occur: transmission, distribution, fire, hurricane, and so many other possibilities. We know that 500 gigawatt of solar is already installed, but if the power production stops for a few minutes, say 10 hours, a shutdown, that will cost you $500 million of lost energy. Batteries are expensive. You would want to use it. You don't want to use it if you don't have to, because you will have EV as a solution in the future, and you have a huge battery bank sitting in your car park. But if you need to, you could still optimize and reduce the amount of battery you will install in your house. Okay. Next, so what do? So we utilize AI technology to deliver uninterrupted power when grid fails. And we do that without battery. Of course, we can also attach a battery to the system, or we can also attach an electric vehicle to the system. We developed this technology, which works very well with our inverter, because our inverter has a capability to switch off grid and on grid within half a cycle. So it's a very rapid technology which switches the inverter in either modes. And when grid is on, the system would try and optimize your energy bills by managing the peak demand charges. But when system is off or grid is off, then our AI engine takes care, and it takes over the control of the house. Your house becomes a grid, which is off grid, and it continues to manage the power generated, power availability with lots of modeling on forecasting of the solar as well as the load, and it will do the matching. And if you have excess energy, and if you have EV connected, the energy will go to EV. And if you need more energy and you have set up your preferences right, then it will take the energy from the EV as well. I'm not able to see the fourth column here, but because of the pictures. Anyway, so I move on to the competitive metrics. So we compared with the major suppliers of the inverters today in the market, and we have lots of unique technologies built into our architecture. So we switch between grid and off grid. No one else can do that so far. We have grid formation. So we have 2 voltage source inverters connected in parallel. So your house, your neighbor's house, your whole community can become a grid when grid fails. We have AI-driven load management system, which matches the load and the energy availability. And of course, everything else like remote monitoring and so on comes with no questions. Okay. Now we keep the inverter very simple. So we put up the EV and the battery interface outside the inverters. So that makes it easy. You buy your inverter today, a very simplified inverter, and you have all the possible expansion and accessories.
Thank you, Babu. We're at the end of time. Advisors, if you have any questions for Babu, please feel free to unmute your mic and ask.
Okay. No questions? Are so clear?
I'll ask one if nobody else is. It seems to happy to do it. I just hope people don't think I'm talking too much. So can you unpack for us just a little bit the unique aspects of your inverter and how it's able to hold energy for some period of time? Kind of both of those pieces.
Okay. So when the inverter have a control mechanism and the way we synchronize with the grid, that's where the innovation is. So we are able to switch the inverter within half a cycle from grid to off grid. So that's number one. Second, we have built in AI into smart plugs, which we mount in the house or in the building. The smart plugs will detect the power situation, and before even inverter switches to off grid, it would have already turned off the very high loads for a moment. So that enables us to reduce the amount of power consumption on the load side, and so we have sufficient solar energy at that time. So it will match and it will continue to operate your loads. So that's how it works. The idea is first we turn off all the major loads and run only critical loads, such as your internet router or any other medical equipment you have. So you assign the priorities. So we bring down the consumption to very low level and slowly bring that up using the smart switches we have installed. Answers your question, Jason?
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
We have time for one more question. Advisors also feel free to provide any feedback on the slide deck or on the overall pitch. But if there are no other questions, Babu, thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate it, and we are so glad we got to see your live pitch today. So much appreciated. Next.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, bye.
Thank you, Babu. Next up, we have Rocking Solar. And to present, we have with us today, Darren Palmer. Hi, Darren, I can see you.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Fantastic background. I think I said that before too. Once Babu is able to stop sharing the screen, you should be able to bring up your presentation.
There we go.
Okay. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Darren Palmer. I'm founder and CEO of Rocking Solar. My team and I are excited to share this technology, which will reduce commercial solar rooftop project cost by up to 22% and better maintain roof integrity. This is a picture of our demo of the Rocking Solar demo, which basically works a lot like a rocking chair with a motor. The Rocking Solar, one of the drives will run 50 panels in a low profile array and is an ideal solution where applications don't want any roof or ground penetrations. Rocking Solar simplified the single axis tracker used in most utility solar by replacing the bearings, gears, and pillars with a low profile rocker. This reduces the friction, the motor size, and reduces the moving parts, ideal for commercial rooftops. Commercial solar is the slowest growing solar segment, and based on electricity consumption should be double what it is today. So we asked the question, why all the empty rooftops? From the VOC we did, number one answer always came back economics. Building owners and investors don't see enough payback with current options, and occupants have other business priorities with other greater returns. Rocking Solar improves the economics by gaining traction or tracking efficiency gains, along with enabling the use of bifacial panels. Combined, this adds up to 48% more energy per panel than fixed tilt systems. So fewer panels means less labor, less wiring, less equipment, resulting in that 22% reduced levelized cost of energy. The second problem is roof liability. Fixed tilt panels use a combination of ballast weight and penetrations. No one likes putting holes in their roof. And then fixed tilt panels also crowd the area and they're difficult to move later for roof repairs. Rocking solar reduces the weight and penetrations by mitigating wind risk with interconnected panels and rows. Row length is adjusted to account for roof features, and spacing between the rows gives access for cleaning panels or minor roof repairs. Also, our modular sections can be moved. Rocking solar is designed with certified industry accepted components that handle winds over 120 miles per hour. We developed 3 wind restraint options, including a wall attachment option that'll connect to the parapet or building walls, which then avoids any holes in the roof. We confirm snow loads and seismic performance, which satisfies our target market segment. And we also confirm modular portability. We integrated a UL certified self-powered controller, which is already on the market, that handles backtracking to avoid shading, also has stow logic in case of high snow loads. We're planning third-party testing through Sandia National Labs, as well as UL certified wind tunnel testing. Trackers are rarely seen on commercial rooftops because they require too many roof penetrations or still cost too much. One recently launched tracker has 1 motor and 1 penetration for each panel, where Rocking Solar has 1 motor per 50 panels and fewer attachments. In summary, Rocking Solar reduces the total project cost by up to 22%. We improve the roof integrity with less weight and fewer penetrations. There's definitely plenty of opportunity on commercial rooftops, plenty of rooftops available. Our goal is to see the commercial solar double from $3 to $6 billion as a market. That would be a $1 billion serve market for our racking solution. We would promote this offer and sell it through the same integrators that install solar today. Over the past 3 months, we've leveraged the American-made solar network, Solar Power Prize Network, and we accelerated our customer network with 20 additional new industry connections. Great for commercialization. We're excited to have a pilot roof install opportunity with Bright Energy Innovators for later this summer. We do have a strong team with experience in business management, architecture, and manufacturing. We added marketing in December. We also use key connector John Williamson, who's founder of Kilonewton and was the former chief executive engineer at Array Technologies. The progress that we've seen from the American-made Solar Prize has been incredible. Next steps with continued support, we look to accelerate our testing, expand our pilot installs, upgrade to production quality, and commercialize by the end of 2021.
Darren, thank you. We're at the end of time, and it seems like you're also at the
Yep, that's great.
Thank you. Looks like we have a question. Ian, would you like to go for it?
Sure. Thanks for an interesting presentation, Darren. You mentioned you can lift it up by crane. For a larger commercial rooftop, are there any issues trying to move these larger units around to sort of get to the center of the roof?
Yeah, so by crane, we mean that we can do a row. A torque tube will basically hold about 4 to 5 panels. And so that torque tube can be lifted off without disassembling or reassembling the panels. You could also put that whole assembly, that row of, or that torque tube of 4 or 5 panels on dollies and roll it to the middle or roll it out of the way if you needed to then be accessed by crane.
Thanks.
Good question.
Thank you, Ian. Any other questions?
Jason Blumberg with Energy Foundry. How does this differ from the Next tracker or others that have had the single tube?
Yes, great question. So I had experience with trackers 15 years ago, and they all use basically a bearing in their systems with these pillars and then gears and motors. So basically what we've done is we've taken out the bearing to where this will rock, much like a rocking chair would rock. By taking out the bearing, taking out the pillars, reduces the friction as well as reduce the motor size. This is what makes ours much more cost effective, also much lower profile. This doesn't really work well with grass growing up around it. So this is really why commercial rooftops is really our focus, our primary focus for this lower cost option as a tracking technology.
Thanks. And how much per watt does it reduce the cost?
So,
or is the cost?
Yeah, so we look at it as total project cost to do the roof install. So depending on the area, we see like you can get down in, if you're in California, you can get down to 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour. From a per watt standpoint, or like from the cost, it's 24 cents per watt is what our cost would be. But then the benefit is reducing the number of panels, reducing the labor, reducing the wiring to the actual project. And that's where we see the 22% project cost reduction for the same amount of daily production versus fixed tilt panels. Did that answer your question?
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Darren. I think we just have a few more seconds, but not enough time for another question. But Darren, I want to thank you so much for being here and for giving us your live presentation.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Purdue Perovskite Solar, and to present, we have Lishan Du. Lishan, whenever you're ready.
Okay, yes. Hi, hello.
Hi, thank you for being here. When you're ready, I will start the timer on my end.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I'm able to see your screen. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm Lieutenant Do, representing DSM Energy and also Purdue University to talk about our innovations in perovskite solar cells. So as we know, the current silicon-based photovoltaic technologies have several limiting factors. For example, the manufacturing cost, especially the capital cost, is quite high. As a result, so the price is currently limited by around $1 per watt, and the energy payback time is over 2 years. Okay. And those silicon-based panels are pretty heavy, so they are very hard to install. And I'm sure you agree this very much, because we have already seen lots of talks earlier today try to addressing this issue. And this further add a more cost for the overall cost for the silicon panel. And also these silicon materials are brittle and heavy. So this greatly limit their applications in, for example, building integrated, automotive integrated applications, and also portable device applications. So the power to weight ratio is pretty low. So we are searching for new technologies, new solar materials and technologies over the past 3 to 4 decades. And lots of failures, but recently there's a huge breakthrough, and there's a really promising technology showing up called perovskite solar cell. So this perovskite is a new semiconductor materials. The amazing part is it is soluble. It's just like organic or polymers. So you can dissolve these materials in a solution to make ink, and then coat a large area thin films using printing technique, just like printing newspapers or books. So these materials are extremely cheap, and the processing is also easy. So that's greatly lowered the overall cost for the solar cell production. And then the price can be lowered down to around 10 to 20 cents per watt. And the energy payback for this perovskite solar cell is expected to be less than half a year, probably just a few months. And these materials, because the perovskite is a direct band gap semiconductor, it absorbs light very strongly. So you just need a very, very thin layer. So using such thin films, you can make flexible and lightweight devices. So the power to weight ratio is extremely high. And as a result, they are easy to install, okay? So that you can put in the onto the buildings or even your cell phones or computers easily. And another amazing feature is that this perovskite technology is compatible with silicon. So we don't have to throw away the silicon panels completely. We can bring them together, make a tandem solar cells with power conversion efficiency over 30%. So this is a truly amazing technology and near ready for commercialization. So there are a few challenges, and currently the field is facing. The first challenge is the stability. So these materials has relatively weak bonding, so that results in a good solubility in solvent. But this also lead to stability problems. This weak bond easy to be broke. So you can see this thin film can decompose in air after a few hours maybe. And there's many ways to degrade these materials. For example, temperature, heat, or moisture, or even electrical field. Right? So, so how to address this intrinsic stability issue is important. So currently, the operational stability for the perovskite solar cell has reached about 2,000 hours, and is still improving. But this is not enough, and our target ideally will be 20 years for commercial use. Another challenge is scaling up. In the lab, we can make 25% efficiency now with a very small device area, 0.1 centimeter square. But there already has been some effort in scaling up. But you can see when you make big device, the efficiency drop. So there need to be better large scale coating technique and procedures need to be developed. So currently we are forming a strong team in addressing these issues. So our solution is, so we developed intrinsically robust and highly performing perovskite active materials through data-driven computational and experimental material design.
Ishan, thank you. We're at the end of time.
Yeah, so, okay, I will stop here and I will stop here. This is our team.
Thank you. Advisors, any questions or feedback for Ishan?
So perovskites, there's Blue Dot, there's Oxford, there's others that are working on this. They've had trouble with both the economics, as you pointed out, the durability, and the application. So it sounds like you've got some path on the durability. And the last thing is the toxicity of the material at the end of life. How have you figured out the cost is the main point that people jump to first?
Thanks for the question.
Sure.
So the question is back to the cost, right, of this technology. Yes, so there are lots of estimations, but since 10 years ago, maybe start from the organic solar cells, people already start to print and start to estimate. So this printing process is very similar. So there has been lots of estimations based, over the past decades. So most of the estimation shows that this printing technique should lead to a cost of around 10 cent to 20 cent dollar per watt. Yes, since we are using the existing this printing technique, we are not developing completely new set of processing. So we believe the perovskite technique eventually will have such low price.
So so what are you doing differently than them that will allow you to hit those cost numbers that they can't hit?
Yeah, so our main strategy, expertise are twofold. First, we have a series of strong patents about new materials. So we are designing some novel materials that make the perovskite much more stable. So our materials are kind of waterproof. They are not degrading over a very long time at very harsh condition. So first, we can realize really 20 years stability that will lead to the cost reduction. if our modules stay longer. And also another key expertise is large area coating. So one of our team members, he is actually a co-founder of Ambient Light. Is a company that has made organic electrochromic windows commercialized. It's already on the market now. There's some they are selling windows and also the small color changing screens for the cell phones. So it will be on market in the next few months. So we have really strong group of patents in handling and printing, handling the solution processing and the printing. So we believe based on this expertise, we are able to make something unique and beat other companies.
Thank you, Li-Shin. Thank you, Jason. Li-Shin, thank you so much for being here with us today. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Next up, we have D&D Manufacturing Solar Air Wall. And to present, we have Nick Probert.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Nick. I can see you well.
Fantastic, yeah.
Whenever you're ready, please feel free to share your screen and I will get the timer going on my end.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, afternoon, ladies and gents, and thanks very much for having us today. My name is Nick Probert, and I'm part of the D&D manufacturing team that is headed up by Dale Polk, who's on the call as well today. When we're here to present the Solar Air Wall, which is a passive solar thermal heating system. Basically, in the US today, there's about 128 million households and 400,000 warehouses. 32% of all greenhouse gas emissions come from residential and commercial buildings. 13% of that is actually due to heating of outside air for purposes of heating in the buildings. That's a very significant amount of carbon dioxide or carbon emissions, and that is during the winter months. So what do we do? Basically, this is where it is. It's a solar air wall that we're presenting today, and it's a highly efficient daytime heating solution. It's made from 100% recycled plastic, excluding the greenhouse shield, and its unique design enables very large surface area, which allows the solar heat to be able to disperse into the air that's traveling through the unit itself. The unit is around 34 inches wide by 82 inches high and is only 2.5 inches thick in a single panel division. So it doesn't take up much encroaching of space or available space. And in terms of pricing, when compared to average daylight heating costs, it provides payback within around 2 winters in the US or 1 winter in the EU when comparing that with standard natural gas or heating oil as the heat and medium. So essentially, how does it work? Well, what we do is we recirculate air from inside the building and draw that in from the ceiling and then push it down through the solar air wall, which is situated on the outside of the building. The proprietary surface design of the air wall ensures that maximum sunlight energy is collected and the heat is transferred to the air traveling downward. The turbulence created inside the air wall due to its design means that there's relatively little pressure change. However, in order to ensure we have circulation happening, we actually utilize a small fan, variable speed fan, that ensures that the air is moving in the right direction. And in terms of the latest testing over the past couple of months, we have achieved decent results with 300 cubic feet per minute of airflow, with deltas between 15 and 55 degrees, depending on the time of day, between the input and output temperatures. What we've also been doing during this time is looking at using this unit as a cooling system. And we've achieved decent results in that as well, whereby we've achieved a reduction in temperature during the nighttime of around 22 degrees Fahrenheit, running it at 300 cubic feet per minute. And this is something that we're very, very keen to work on further, not only be as a heating device, but also as a cooling device in the nighttime in hot environments. Our progress to date, well, in 2017, the idea was developed and the computer design of the air wall commenced. In 2018, the first prototypes were tested in Florida on jigs. In 2019, after further refinement, the testing was conducted within a small household unit in Florida, but also we sent panels up to Canada for winter low light solar testing. And this achieved decent results, although we did reduce the cubic feet per minute outputs down by about 2/3 to about 100 cubic feet per minute, but we were still achieving around a 50-degree delta in regards to the inputs and outputs. In 2020, after a bit of delay, we were able to get started and fired up again because of Solar Prize Round 4. And we recommenced testing and worked on our design in order to be able to turn it into a cooling system as well during nighttime and summer months. And by the end of the year, we went out and worked out on funding, and we signed a license with a manufacturing partner in the US of Low Impact Technologies, who raised $4 million in capital for the new manufacturing plant in North Carolina, which will be commissioned in May. And then obviously we also need new molds to be designed. And I think that's time.
Thank you. We're at the end of time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
If there's any questions for Nick?
Yeah, so this is Matt Maroon. Just a quick question on the heating side of this and the economics for, an average residential household. So I presume that you can't offset the entire need for, a traditional furnace, but have you run the numbers to say on a typical house, here's how much runtime we would offset of a furnace, and here's what this would translate to for economics for a buyer?
Yeah, so we've basically run our numbers and our paybacks on running daylight hours and running the heating on daylight hours. And we've done that between 7 and 8 hour days. And our average household in the US is around 2,500 square feet. So we've run the numbers on that, and that hence gave you the payback over 2 winters. It's higher in Europe because Europe has higher heating and fuel costs. So it's only purely, we've done it on daylight hours only.
Thank you, Matt. Any other questions? All right, Nick, I don't think we have any further questions. Thank you so much for being here today and for presenting. It was a pleasure to watch your presentation. Our last and final presentation for the day is from Energy for All, Saving Solar Power, and for that we have Duncan Woodbury. Duncan.
Hello, thank you so much. Just a moment.
Great. And you're ready.
Can you see my slides?
Mm-hmm. Able to see your slides.
All right, excellent.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, we're Team Energy for All. We're here for saving solar power. I'm getting some feedback. If somebody could mute, that would be excellent. We're here to create affordable solar energy storage solutions to de-risk investment in the American solar industry and reduce the operational costs and improve the economic viability of American solar generation. So solar energy, as we know, is the cheapest form of electricity generation. And this is new. This is in the last year alone, finally. But the operational characteristics of solar generation render it currently an unattractive fit to displace conventional generation due to factors like the uncertainty and the variability of solar generation output that render it unreliable and therefore end up ultimately reducing the value of solar energy. Solar storage economically and operationally de-risks solar generation. Solar storage enables the realization of more than 5% total cost savings over the lifetime of a solar project, and enables addressing the nearly 15% peak market with solar energy. But the current cost barrier to entry limits widespread access to the benefits of solar storage, as the cost of solar storage systems and the PV plus storage system make up nearly 50% of the total system cost, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 per kilowatt hour, depending on if you ask a DOE study or if you ask actual customers in the field. So, Team Energy for All is creating solar batteries at 10 to 20% of the cost of comparable retail solutions. So not only are we creating solutions that are economically superior in terms of reducing first cost, but we're creating solutions that are functionally superior and long-term economically superior, as our batteries have a 45% longer life and greater operational efficiency throughout lifetime due to the technical solution that we use, which I'll speak on for just a moment in this video. We speak on it in much more depth in our 5-minute video, so I encourage you to please refer to that as well. But essentially, we use an approach called active life balancing, where we retrofit retired EV batteries with active battery management hardware that helps prevent and eliminate uneven capacity fade between individual cells in a series connected battery. This uneven capacity fade prevents the full charging and discharge of individual cells. So using our technology, we're able to, again, eliminate those effects, allowing individual cells in the battery pack to be fully charged and fully discharged, irrespective of the disproportionate capacity fade of other cells. And over the operational lifetime of the batteries that we produce, we now eliminate that disproportionate capacity fade, so that decelerates the degradation of the battery, allowing this retired second life battery to live for 45% longer. And this technology is usable for new batteries as well. So not just retired batteries, but we can use this in brand new batteries to make them more competitive in their markets by lasting up to 45% longer. So the retail costs of a solar storage solution can go up to $1,000 per kilowatt hour. The costs that we're targeting are $100 to $200 per kilowatt hour, and we've already hit these goals, which I'll talk about briefly. Because we've already hit these goals, we have focused our efforts here in the SET contest on creating an economically viable business model. So what we've done in the last couple of months alone is solve the challenges of building a scalable battery supply chain. We partnered with a domestic company, the largest used battery supplier in North America. And we have a line on a scalable volume of retired batteries that are the right chemistry that we need, NMC chemistry. This partner also maintains a battery remanufacturing facility and maintains licenses and a economy of scale around battery logistics, transportation of Class 9 hazardous materials. So what we can do with this partner, the relationship that we've established, is we will manufacture domestically our battery management hardware, our active life balancing hardware, ship it to our partner in their facility with the batteries that they produce. Their staff, using their experience in their facilities, will rewire batteries and ship them directly to customers with our hardware installed. So already we have hit the price point of $100,000 for a 500 kilowatt hour solar battery, which is the 20% target. And over the next round of the contest, we're working to bring that cost from 20% of the current retail cost to 10%. So this isn't a dream, this is reality of what we've done in the last couple of months. I'm coming up here on the end of our time. So we're serial entrepreneurs with experience scaling and commercializing technology. And we're excited to do that again for the Solar Challenge. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Advisors, any questions for Duncan?
Hey, Duncan, this is Ian. Thanks for the interesting presentation. Any issues that you have to deal with related to warranty, liability, like ensuring useful life from a contractual standpoint?
So that's an interesting question. One of the next challenges we have to address is attaining the appropriate UL certifications. So within the scope of the solar challenge, we haven't had the time or resources to do that. But in the next round, that is in our roadmap to work towards building systems that are compliant with the appropriate UL certifications. Therefore, our batteries come with the appropriate warranties. And if we meet those certifications, I believe that we address those issues.
Thanks.
This is
Any
Matt
other
Maroon.
questions?
Just a comment. Lithium-ion batteries. I was purchasing lithium-ion batteries for solar connected utility scale systems in the past year or two, and they're not at $1,000 a kilowatt hour. So you should just. It would be good just to check the references on that and make sure that you're speaking accurately to what commercial prices are for those.
Great, thank you.
I believe we have time for one more question.
Jason Blumberg from Energy Foundry. There's a number of folks trying to do the second life battery play, which I'm sure you're aware of. Two questions on that. One, what's your differentiation to them? And two, when you're modeling costs, are you modeling that those second life batteries are going to be competitively priced because there's a number of folks approaching this business model?
Okay, sorry, can you clarify the second portion of your question?
Yeah, you had said it would be 10% of the cost of today's price. But when you go to buy the batteries, if you find 6 or 10 companies going to compete to buy the batteries, which is what it looks like with all the people trying to do second life, how does that impact your cost projections?
Okay, great. So first question, existing using passive balancing, where excess energy is dissipated typically through a bleed resistor to equalize state of charge, but that ends up just wasting the energy and doesn't actually have any positive effect on battery lifetime. Existing active battery management approaches reroute power from cells with lower state of charge to higher state of charge, but because batteries use a shared DC bus, due to circuit inefficiencies and battery column inefficiencies, it's extremely inefficient, isn't fit for higher power applications. So even existing state-of-the-art active management technologies are much less sophisticated than what we're doing, where we're actually installing a shared DC-DC converter, and we have the ability to individually load cells with an optimal amount of energy based on their current degradation. So we can protect some cells from degradation and accelerate the degradation of others until we reach an optimal map of battery capacity across the entire pack. And regarding the actual price, so there are an abundance of used batteries. Not all of them are fit for second life use. The battery partner that we have, perhaps it's a diamond in the rough, but they receive batteries from every OEM in North America, and they have committed to a partnership with us where they can supply us more than 50,000 batteries per month if we need, right, which are on average about 80 kilowatt hours a piece. So we have a direct line on a scalable volume of second life batteries at an affordable price point, and at about $70 per kilowatt hour for the retired batteries and about 13 cents per watt for our reconditioning method, which includes the installation of the hardware and the actual reassembly of the battery. We're able to hit that price point of $100,000 for a 500 kilowatt hour battery today, and we're going to work to just drive that down even further. Does that answer your questions, Jason?
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Jason. We are at the end of time. Duncan, thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate your presentation. All right. So, all right. Whoops. Thank you once again to all the teams, and many, many congratulations to all of you on your spectacular pitch presentations today. It was a long but very engaging and lively round of presentations. We are truly honored to be able to provide a platform to you all to showcase the incredible work that you are all doing to advance solar innovation. And of course, a big, big thank you to our esteemed advisory panel for taking the time to be here with us today. We received some great questions and great feedback from you all, both verbally and in terms of your written feedback. So we really appreciate that. And with that, I invite our Executive Director, Anna, to provide closing remarks and announcements for today.
Thank you, Aswarya. As she mentioned, we were so excited to have all of you here today, and what a great set of companies for us to all review. So we are now going to transition to our reception, which is in Remo. So I know they gave you the information several times today, but wanted to make sure that you all were going to join us there. So we'll take a minute or two, catch a breath, and then we'll head over there. I do want to let you know that we have announcements that we'll be doing sometime between 4:20 and 4:30, which include the announcement of our student poster competition winners. So all of those students are waiting for us over in Remo because they want to see if they've won. So it's a great opportunity for you to meet Carnegie Mellon students and some other faculty, other partners who are waiting for us there. So that session is starting at 4 o'clock, which is a couple of minutes ago. So thank you very much for your time today. Thank you to all of our panelists, and thank you to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory and the American Made Solar Prize for allowing us this opportunity today. Thank you, Aswarya and Daniela, for hosting a great day today, and looking forward to seeing you in a few minutes for a virtual cocktail. I'll see you soon. Thanks very much.